Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In My Cousin's Basement. I am your host, Tim Patrick, and always with me is the Evil Dead to my Evil Dead 1. You are Evil Dead 2, which means you are just as good, but you're not as great as me. Here is Rando.
So I'm the prequel?
You are the sequel.
I'm the sequel?
Yes. Good thing I didn't call you the reboot.
Yeah.
One of those still good, though.
The reboot was still good.
Yeah, both of them, yeah.
I enjoyed all the movies, dude.
Right.
The reason I really enjoyed them was because they all used the original props, like we talked about. That
Practical. Yeah.
are practical.
Practical.
That surprised me in this day and age, but apparently they saved a lot of money doing that,
Yeah.
and a lot of fans were really appreciative of that. I mean, I was seeing them do something that wasn't just CGI, but
Right.
that was cool. So
Right.
what's our topic today, Tim?
Well, we got a couple topics, but we're going to start off with a little things that kids nowadays will never have to deal with, like stuff we had to deal with. And there's a lot. I mean, me and you are, you're going on 40. I'm over 40, and it's just there's so much crap, even within the last 5-10 years, that kids nowadays will not experience what we did, just because of how society is, how rules around either school or jobs or anything like that. There's so much we got away with. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
And kids nowadays are just kids nowadays were in kids then if we then are in the time now, we'd be dead, arrested, or even deported, that kind of stuff, because we did so much and there was never any kind of record of it because we didn't have camera phones. Everybody wasn't walking around with a camcorder or anything like that. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I guess people our age, and I think every generation will have something like this,
Right.
like things that they grew up with that they don't have when they become an adult, right? Our kids nowadays probably will have less because I think
lot less.
things will kind of stay the same with technology, but maybe not. Maybe we don't know. But I think as we progress as a technology society, a lot of these things just went by the wayside because they were no longer needed, or like you said, rules have changed and things just have changed in society where people have just forgotten about these things and they've moved on from them.
Right. Or they're illegal.
Or they're illegal. So I got a lot.
Okay. Well, bring 'em on. Let's see
I'm gonna
what we
bring them
got.
up. So I'll start with the first one, but the funny thing is through our anybody listens to our podcast, all the topics we've talked about from our 16 podcasts. We've probably touched on a lot of these and stuff, but there's a lot that it took me a couple days to write all these down and just think about them. They randomly came to me,
Right.
So hopefully people remember this stuff. Hopefully we're not too old and people are like, man, you guys are fucking old.
That's what I was worried about.
But I don't think so. I think our fan base that listens to us will all can kind of reminisce and remember this kind of nostalgia stuff. So the first one I got is calling the movies or going through the newspaper to find movie times.
Yes.
I know we brought this up before, but that is something that kids will never experience nowadays. I mean,
because you had to sit through every single movie till you got to your movie. Because at first it was you had to do that. You
Right.
had to sit so every single movie till your movie came up, and then everybody had to shut up because you couldn't rewind it.
that's correct.
And then after a while, it started being press 1 for this movie, press 2 for this movie. It became a lot easier. Now I guess it's distinct. I don't know.
It's extinct. You can call up there and you just talk to someone on the phone. They'll just tell you the movie.
That's
time.
what how it should have been.
Should have been the whole time, but I get it. They can call it any time of the day, even at night, to figure out their movies, which was kind of cool and exciting. Like, hey, I'm calling the movie to get the movie times. Or if your parents, and I say most people got the St. Louis Post-Dispatch or any type of newspaper, the New York Times, whatever, and they would go through it and say, hey, here's the movie times for all the movies today. That was something that was like cool to do. Like, you would go in there and circle the times, and then the biggest part was the unknown. You had to get there early or go up there a day early or whatever, buy the movie tickets to make sure they weren't sold out. And then the real struggle was getting up there early to get the seats. So you have to go sit in line outside the movie theater for a half an hour with your popcorn and soda, make sure you didn't drink it all and piss yourself before you went in the movie theater. And then you get in and you rush in to find good seats with your family. And then if they sold out, the manager had to come in and be like, all right, everybody scoot over so we can make some room for people sitting in.
Don't sit in a row. Get your feet off the seat in front of you.
Just like things like that. It was a cool thing to experience,
Right.
Even going on dates with girls. I remember going up there and like getting up there early with the girl and getting like, 2 good seats for us or whatever, or just with our friends. And that was something to look forward to. Like, my mom and dad would be like, oh, here's the movies, drop them off. We'll come back in a couple hours and get you,
Right.
And then eventually they put arcades in the movie theaters
Yep.
where you could go up there and spend your extra $400 that you had on
At
the
the
video
time,
games.
it wasn't. You could actually spend or take $20 and still have a good time. Watch a movie, get your food, and play games.
I always remember there's certain games always like
Simpsons
burned in my brain. The Simpsons game was always up there, right?
Always in St. Charles. That was the only time. Whenever we went to St. Charles, that was the only game I played up there because that was the only place I could find it.
The Simpsons was there. Crazy Taxi was always really
that was
big.
everywhere.
They always had like a zombie game. I can't remember the game they had up there at the time.
Probably House of the Dead.
Probably House of the Dead. And then they always had the things for the kids, like for the tickets. You know, they had the skee ball and everything like that up there. You go up there and then win prizes and stuff. So
I run into racer.
And you go up there now, and they could go to St. Charles 18, which is my home, my theater I've been going to since I've been a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and we go up there. They still have it, and they still have a lot of the original stuff, but it's not like what it used to be.
Is the W still up there for Wurmberg?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Jen still sings that song every once in a while. It's like, God damn it, shut up! I don't want to hear. Or she sings it, and I go, where it burns, where it hurts.
Yeah, you know, something that was cool, and I'll move on to the next topic. Was the best part about having that ticket thing, or not ticket thing, but the video game stuff there in the back left corner. They used to put cardboard boxes of like printouts of the movies. You could see all the cool ones that were coming out, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, people were always too scared, but me and my friends never cared. We would just go behind it, and you could sneak behind there and go sneak into a movie.
Yeah.
And they finally closed that wall and closed it eventually. But for like 5 years straight, that thing was open. So we would go see a movie or buy a ticket for a different movie, and then we would go sneak into a Radar movie, and we would go back there and sneak in, and we never got caught, you know?
Yeah.
There was one time we snuck in and we saw some other kids got caught. Like they came in, they noticed, but for some reason they didn't say anything to us, and we were sitting next to a bunch of adults, so it looked like we were sitting.
I think I know when you saw me, I took you to see Jason versus Freddy. That happened. A couple of your friends snuck in and they got kicked out. And I'm sitting there going, "You're with me.
You're with me." I remember
I was the only one that was over 18.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
One thing I do remember too, because since you mentioned the Puss Dispatch, and then we'll move on, was every Thursday you looked at the Thursday Everyday section, and that told you all the movie times for the weekend.
That was cool.
So especially if you had new movies coming out, because a lot of people, a lot of movies didn't promote themselves because they didn't. And that was so cool that you could just open up Thursday paper and then go, bam, there I could find out when blah, blah, blah is playing or whatever.
You said it pretty good in our last podcast that nowadays kids, the newspaper is our phone. Yeah. You know, like they'll never understand going to sitting at the kitchen table with your mom and dad, looking at the newspaper, finding kind of stuff. So
basically mapping out your weekend.
Mapping out your weekend, finding events that are going around the city or town.
Right.
You know, stuff like that just you can pick up your phone and be like, oh, Facebook, there's an event nowadays, right? Which is still very nice and convenient, but there was something cool to sit down with your family and just go through that kind of stuff. I mean, I didn't do it all the time with my parents at all, but when I did, my mom and dad would be like, here's a newspaper, have at it, or
tell me what you want to see.
Tell me what you want to see, exactly, and we'll take you.
What time am I dropping you off? It's like, damn, they're planning to get rid of you.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was something I wish they still had around, but I get it. That's something that's evolved, and I can't say that I don't love the fact that I can get on my phone and just book the seats and walk in the theater and my seats are already booked and everything. That is a great feature. I mean, even when I was a kid, I was like, they should have that where you reserve the ticket and you get to reserve your seats. I used to say when I was a kid, it was like, they should let you pay a couple extra dollars to reserve the seats. You know, if you pay it, come ahead and tell you want the good seats in the middle, they're a couple extra dollars or something, make some extra money. But I get it. First come, first serve was their customer service thing. So going on from that topic, we've said this a million times. I'm going to bring it up anyway. Going to the mall, hanging out there, and there was just no phones.
Yes.
Right. So like
in the moment,
that's where hangout was for kids. Going up there, mom and dad would drop you off.
Say be done by meet me back here at 6 o'clock or closing or whatever.
Yeah, and you knew if you told your friends, hey, I'll be up there about 5 o'clock.
Everybody meet you up there.
Everybody meets there. Let's meet in front of the Tilt or meet in front of like one of those stores. And before you sit there, all your friends would meet up and you'd walk around for a couple hours, you know.
Sit around my fountain, get yelled at for loitering, you
know, dropping your money into.
How'd you get cigarettes? You're not 18 yet.
How'd you get those cigarettes? Just stuff like that. Like that was always a cool moment to me going to the mall. I mean, that is something kids won't never get experience. Mall stuff is just dead. It's just what it is.
I mean, it's still around, but still, it's going away.
It's dead for, and what I mean is for kids. Yeah. Like it's not they don't make it a hangout place anymore.
It's not a mall rat kind of thing.
Not a mall rat. Not a Kevin Smith thing.
Right.
There's Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith.
Always. Hockey.
Even to this day, like I think yesterday I read that someone quoted mall rats and said something about it, and I was like, man, it's just it still holds true to this day. Like there's something about it that was encapsulated in that time that just kids will never get to understand. Like to them, everything they know is online. So that experience of going and hanging out and just meeting people, the best part about it was really the no phones because you're engaged with your friends the whole time.
Right.
You know,
there's socialism or socialization.
You know, I liked it because we went to the mall and then we had the movies there, but we also had the food court and you also had Tilt
arcade,
and stuff. Or if you want to go out to dinner, there was a place to go out to dinner there. What was the place called? You remember it last time at Mid Rivers Mall. It was outside. You could walk right in if you want to get food there.
Oh shit! What was that?
I haven't heard the name. I said it in a podcast. We'll think about it, whatever. But something that always stuck in my brain. It was like the only place you could go out to eat that was at the mall that had that name and store. It was there forever.
Well, there's a bunch of those. There's like Sbarro's. There's you talking about that clothing store?
No. It was an actual restaurant outside, like the
restaurant.
main entrance at Mid Rivers.
Oh,
it was right there on the right hand side when you walked in.
Max and Irma's. What the fuck was that?
Max and Irma's. I remember that.
The only one I knew about was St. Peter's.
Well,
I'll dwell on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's good. So like, it's just stuff like that. That always was something I look forward to, especially in my adolescent days, like when I was in middle school. Like, what a cool time to go up there and do that. And when I got to high school, it kind of fizzled out a little bit. I mean, actually,
you started working there.
Well, I started working there, but then after I got my car, I went up there. It was cool, but I didn't hang out there. It wasn't the same, right? Yeah. It wasn't the same. It lost some of its coolness. But
because you did it, you did it for a while, and then it's like, now what?
Yeah, I mean, there was cool moments up there. I mean, the other cool moment was when you got older. It was just you met people up there.
Yeah.
Like you'd meet people in the mall, or you'd walk around and do whatever. We've talked about it a million times. There's a million things. I mean, just shopping and reminiscing or making fun of people, getting mischief. Whatever it was that you did up there. There was a.
Go ahead.
I was just saying it was like a group or cult of people. Like you always saw the jock people hanging out, or you saw all the.
It's like school.
The guys, pretty much.
Yeah. You had your cliques. Yeah. I was gonna say, try not to throw your friend in. Tried to throw your friend in the fountain and. And then they try to throw you in. And
or you could be like Robert Downey Jr. and drop a slushie on somebody.
On the two nerds.
On the two nerds. It's just good times, man.
Yeah, good times.
Do you have anything else to put on with the mall?
No, I think you hit that one perfectly. I mean, kids will not understand the fun of socialization.
They just won't. I mean, and be honest, that's where you found out and like discovered stuff. Like this was cool or something like you would find out that you just didn't know about. That's what was always just fun.
I mean, not even half the time. Like you said, by going to the movies and stuff like that, there's a. Go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to spit.
Yeah, you're good.
Find out when albums came out because a lot of times you didn't know an album was going to come out because we didn't have the internet or even MTV mentioned your favorite band or anything like that because you had to go to the mall to find out your album came out.
I think you said it on our Christmas podcast, but I think they used to do the same thing where they would. They would advertise like the new game or the new toy or whatever, and you wouldn't know about it until they had a Sears catalog or they had things like that came out.
The Sears catalog, that thing was more than a catalog. That was like a Bible to us kids. We got to go through and circle what we wanted.
You just carry it around, and I used to sit there and like eat food and just stare at it because they wouldn't have an iPad, so that was like an iPad back then. You could sit there and stare at it, and be like, man, I want this toy, whatever, and you'd like, man. And the cool thing about it was like you'd see shit on Nickelodeon and you would see it in the catalog and you're like, okay, cool, this is where I know where I can get this from.
And you know when it's coming out. It's usually Christmas time.
And you knew it was coming out. And your parents liked it because it kept you entertained and busy for a little bit, right?
Yeah, and they didn't like it because you wanted all this shit.
Oh, yeah, you want all this shit and then you wouldn't get it. And then
it cost too damn much.
Yeah, you'd be like,
$100 for a system? What the hell is that?
I thought Santa got me whatever I wanted.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Mama, ask that in for me.
Here's one that I can go with, and you might have done this too. I think a lot of people do this. It's mostly a guy thing, and not to exclude women, but
I'm not a guy.
No.
Okay.
You're a man.
Yes.
Sitting outside GameStop all night, waiting for the new game to come out, so you get your hand, or system. Or
I was gonna say for that one, it would be like waiting for a CD to come out at midnight.
Or a CD for you, right? I know you brought that up before, but that is something that's lost. Now, I have seen a resurgence of it last year when Breath of the Wild, not Breath of the Wild, but I'm sorry, Tears of the Kingdom came out for Zelda on the Switch.
Yeah.
I went up to Best Buy on the first day it released, and it was you can only pick it up if you pre-ordered it, right? You couldn't get it, whatever. I went in there was 50 people in line, sitting in a line. I was like, what is this? Like you don't see this anymore. And I was asking like, oh, that's a line to pick up your pre-order for the game. I was like, holy shit, I didn't know that people actually still kind of did. So like, yeah, you're not sitting outside anymore getting the consoles. I mean, but you've seen a little bit of resurgence of it. People sitting outside Target for Stanley Cups that are fucking freaks. Over $100 cup has lead on the outside of it. Cool, good luck.
Yeah.
I get
lug this thing around and bitch about it.
I get it. it's a trendy fad, especially for college girls, because like the girl that babysits our kids, she has one or whatever, and she talks about like all the kids, even gay guys, and some guys even now they've made it for men, and men are carrying around. I'm like, you'll never see me with the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
I think they're cool. That there's something that's a resurgence. It kind of
there's my Stanley Cup right there.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. When they first brought it up, I was like, "You talking about the blue Stanley Cup?" I mean,
exactly.
that's what most people thought they were talking about, right?
Exactly.
But sitting outside the GameStop, I mean, the last game I remember sitting outside was, I remember when I first started working at my job when I was 23. The new Call of Duty came out, and it had the zombies in it, and everybody wanted that fucking game.
Yeah.
I sat outside GameStop for almost 4 hours before they opened up, and it was in the AM. You could sit in the mall, so we went in the mall and sat down in there and chilled or whatever. And we did have phones back then, so it wasn't that bad. And I got it, and I took off a week of work to sit there and play with my friends. And dude, it was those kind of days were just cool. Like that was a cool thing, and everybody was so happy to go in there and get it and stuff. And I remember just watching like Instagram reels all the time that come up on my feed for nostalgia stuff, like people sitting in line to get the first PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, and like seeing their faces and how many people stood in line, hundreds of people standing in line. That was just a cool time that kids will never get to experience, man.
Yeah, the last time I actually waited for a game, honestly, a game or a CD, because they stopped doing it for CDs for like the longest time because record stores would be bitching about it because people would be ripping off CDs left and right.
Right.
But the last time I remember waiting for a game, Metallica came out with a Guitar Hero game.
Oh,
it came out on a certain day, and I got to Walmart in St. Charles at 12:01. They didn't even pull out the damn box yet. And I'm like, there's no line for it. Nobody's waiting for this, and they're like, no, man, people don't do that anymore. I was like, fuck, I feel old.
So what I used to do, and this happened when I got older with a couple of games or whatever, if you went to Walmart and some of those places, since they were 24 hours, right, back in the day,
exactly.
you'd have to stand outside. If you would hit the guy up that worked in the electronics store, I slipped him $20 here. Then he's like, come here the night before, because they used to get the games ahead of time. And they'd be unboxed. He's like, come here around 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning when we get the shipment and unbox it. And he's like, and I'll give it to you. And come to find out, I found that out from one of my dad's friends who was a freak about buying like Hot Wheels toys or like new collectible toys that would be coming out that were rare items or whatever. He would come in and do the same thing, and they would get the first dibs on buying that kind of stuff. And a lot of those people, when they come off the truck, they would take it and put it on the shelf back there with their name and reserve it for themselves, right? So
people did that with Funkos actually, because when Jen and I used to do a Funko hunting kind of thing, because once we found out certain Funkos were coming out or whatever, we would go to Target, whatever, and then some people said, well, I got a couple in the back, kind of like, I got what you need kind of thing, and they would bring us out some. Someone would be damaged, and we're like, dude, what the fuck? And that's how the entire shipment came in or whatever. But like, no, it's okay.
I mean, remember the Pokemon craze for during COVID when the hype went up for the cards and people are fighting over them when they drop the cards. I mean, they still are because there's so much money there. We've talked about that before, but
cards, man.
It's cool to see like some people going back in resurgence for some things.
Yeah.
To me, that's not my thing, but I get it. I mean, but I think it's cool that you see people still kind of going back.
They had that much passion into the.
And some of the old ways of stuff coming back, sitting in lines. I mean, Black Friday was one of them. I've never done a Black Friday. I've never sat in line and done it. I've always wanted to when I was a kid, and then now no one does it.
I was around when the Cabbage Patch craze was around,
or the Beanie Baby,
or the Beanie Baby, and how people were ripping the shit out of each other just to get a fucking doll.
Or the Furbies.
The Furbies.
I remember the mall was a huge one for the Beanie Babies. There was and people would stand in line and buy the dumbest things for Beanie Babies, and come to find out, still like they're
still worth money.
They're still worth money. The Princess Diana one's still worth the most one or whatever. It's the most sought after one, but all of them. There's not really money into them that many more. Because I watched the Netflix documentary Gold, whatever. Yeah. He's that reseller that sells high dollar items, sports items.
I heard about that.
And he does one with the Beanie Babies. And this lady thinks her collection's worth like $10,000. He's like, I hate to tell it to you, but he's worth like $1,000 or $2,000 because of all your rare ones. All the other ones are not very rare. And he's like, most people don't collect them anymore. They don't care. Right. This is the ones that people want. Right. Either way, it was still cool seeing because it's like, hey, something from the past, like what's everybody's collecting. Fuck you. Even the McDonald's used to give you out Beanie Babies that were collectible, remember?
Yeah, I remember my buddy Sam, when I left for Florida the first time, he actually gave me, the time when I left is when they had the ones at the Happy Meal. Mm-hmm. He gave me a moose one with a noose around it, moose on a noose. Yeah. Because he hung it around his rearview mirror on his car. And I remember he asking me, like, not even a year or two later, he's like, hey, man, you still got that? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I moved so many times, I don't know. And he's like, that thing's worth so much money now. I'm like, oh fuck, I
Yeah,
wish I knew that.
and that's just what happens, man. When everything comes back, and we talk about every 20 years things resurgence. Especially things from our past, toys, clothes, whatever it is, and now that we're just in that bubble between our 30s and 40s or your early 40s.
Don't say 50s. don't you dare say 50s.
No, you're not 50 yet. But you're just seeing people go crazy over a lot of stuff. I think it's cool. I'm always into that stuff.
Oh, yeah,
you know something, and I'll move on to the next topic is old bikes that we used to grow up with, like the Dyno GTs and all that stuff. Now they're back, and there's people who refurbish them and remake them, and dude, they sell them for like $1,000 and make retarded amount of money. And it's cheap, yes.
$1,000 is a cheaper one. If you want a cheaper one, get $1,000. Yeah, a buddy of mine does that.
Does he really?
Yeah.
So, cool story, and then I really will move on. So my buddy at work, I'm not gonna say his name or anything like that. He had a bike. It was either a Dyno GT or whatever with the cool mags and all that stuff on or whatever. And he had it until he was about, I don't know, like 18 or 19, and he sold it. And he was really, and like years later, he got really pissed that he sold it. And he's I'll never find this bike again. Like it was my childhood bike or whatever. So randomly one day he's on Facebook Marketplace and he looks up that bike model and he sees his bike on there. He's like, dude, that's my bike. And his wife's like, how do you know it's bike? He goes, that fucking sticker that's on that bike right there. He goes, I got that from my mom and dad, whatever, when I went to a bike park and put it on there.
Yeah.
He looked up the person, asked them, found the backstory how he got it, figured out it was his bike.
Wow.
He bought it from the person. He's got his bike back. I just thought that was really cool,
that
like a childhood thing. And then I was hung up in his garage and the other day when we were on a call, I was like, hey man, I was like, how much for that bike? And he's like, it's not for sale. I was just fucking with him. I was like, I just thought it's a really nice bike too.
Yeah.
I was like, do you ride it around? He's like, I do once in a while, but he's like, dude, it just hangs there for memories now. He's like, I just don't want to give up my childhood bike.
Right.
I was like, I wish I never gave up mine because now they're fucking worth a shit ton of money.
Right. I never had one.
I didn't have any of the cool ones, but I still had like a Dyno GT or something like that. It was like all orange or something. I used to think it was the coolest thing, but whatever. Back then, bikes were a huge thing. Now, everybody wants scooters.
Hoverboards.
Hoverboards. That's kind of died off, the hoverboard thing.
Actually, yeah, you're kind of right.
It's been the scooter. Like they call them, like the kids will like scooter gangs and shit now. Because my neighbor down the street, the guy I always talk about, Tommy, the kid.
Yeah, Tommy.
He told me that all kids have scooters, and like they used to have this thing called the scooter gang when they meet up, and like be like 20 kids on scooters riding around. I'm like, and I was like, dude, where's the fuck is your bike? As he got older, he got into a bike, but when he was younger, like my kids have scooters, and bikes. I didn't think that was a lost thing, but it is. So, moving on to our next one, renting movies at Blockbuster.
Oh, God,
now, obviously, some of these ones are going to be pretty obvious for most people, right? I'll get into some of the crazier ones you forget about, but the ones at Blockbuster, to me, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, kids will never get experience getting on a Friday night, going in, renting a movie. And my favorite thing about going in there was you could find a movie, but finding movies you didn't know about, and that might become your new favorite movie.
Yes, or even like ones you long lost that you totally forgot about.
And discovering. I know I've said it many times. As I got older, like reading the synopsis on the back was always a cool thing.
Yep.
Or just sitting around there and just kind of window shopping, we can call it, and reading stuff. I mean, from between the games and the movies. I always thought it was fun finding stuff you didn't go there to find. That was always cool. Or people, you'd hear word of mouth like, hey, go up there and find this movie. Nowadays, you obviously got the convenience of everything. But something I thought about when I was driving over here that I forgot about was when you knew new movie came out and you wanted to get it, and you go up after school on a Friday or whatever to go get the new release, and you go up there and all the new releases of the movie was gone, or the movie that you want was gone. And you go up and talk to the clerk or whatever, and like, oh, we have no in stock. And then you have that one guy who's like, hey, let me look through the returns. Exactly. And you'd find it in the returns, and it was like a fucking golden moment for you that they found it in the returns. And that was
even if Blockbuster or like some back to time, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that was around. Besides Hollywood Video, there was ones before that even. They had a whole wall of like 50 different copies or 50 copies of the same movie,
right?
And they're still all gone. It's like, son of a bitch.
Or I just thought about this. It's like if you really want that bad, you're like, Mom, go tell them to call their stores. They call their stores. Can you hold it for me? You guys rush over. To
you have an hour or two. That's it. That's all we can do it.
Yeah,
God damn it.
Those kind of memories are lost, and that kind of stuff kids will just never get to experience. And that's something that's we always talk about it, like I wish would come back. Maybe one day, probably not, because you even said it, and we talked about it. Like, I think the last two podcasts was they want to get rid of all physical media, which is stupid in my opinion. But there's other people out there that probably think that they're just throwing money away by putting it into physical media because no one buys it anymore, which I get.
Yeah.
But I think it'll go away and come back. I think it's gonna be like records or cassettes or anything else.
Cassettes are even I was gonna say cassettes are coming back.
You've said that like 5 times.
Yeah,
that's your favorite thing.
That's an Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Double-edged sword.
I haven't said it yet.
No, you haven't.
Now I will though.
No,
to piss you off.
Son of a bitch.
How about anything else? I'll let you, because I'm up and ranting. Anything in Blockbuster that you remember that?
No, like mine was the you go in there and they're out of copies or whatever, and even like I said, seeing ones that you totally forgot about. Like I totally forgot about Evil Dead, and then one time when I was at Circus Video, which is actually a cool place that we had. It was a huge fucking place. It's like Blockbuster, but like for like Sam's one.
I remember Circus Video.
And
that's a
I
throwback
found Evil Dead, and I was like, "Oh fuck! I totally forgot this movie existed." And that's when I started getting into Evil Dead again and Army of Darkness, shit like that.
Yeah. There's just something about what always sticks in my brain is finding new stuff. Like finding a game you didn't go up there to find. You're like, this game looks really cool. Or renting stuff and it sucked. And you're like, okay, I'll never rent that again. But it's like you still got it, and since you got it, you would watch it. You know.
Or even the times where you're. I know Family Video had one. I'm not sure. Not too many other ones had it, but if there was a porn section, and they told you, and they're always watching the door through the curtain. They're the little fucking bead curtain kind of thing. Yeah,
whatever. It's like
and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?"
It's like the smoke shops. You couldn't go back to buy the fucking paraphernalia because they'd had the same thing. Sneak in there.
Oh yeah, that was so cool. And then once you turned 18, you bought the porn for your friends.
Yeah, it's like now you just walk into Spencer's, you can see his dildos hanging all over the wall and everything. I walked into Spencer's during Christmas, and I was like, this place hasn't changed one bit, which I love.
Good.
And you go back there, still got the poster thing and everything.
Nice.
Still got a bunch of hats they sell. Yeah, funny shirts with all the stuff, and it's like, man, I'd like to buy these shirts, but it's like I would get ridiculed from so many people if I wore that stuff. But it's because I have small children.
Yeah, I know.
And
you're an adult. I'm not. I know.
Yeah, no. Sorry. I'm an adult when I need to be.
Right. There you
go. It's not by choice.
Right.
So I guess that's something I wish my kids would get to experience is Blockbuster, man. Moving on to the next one. Anything else about Blockbuster?
Nope.
This is something we talked about too. Just getting up early for school and seeing if you're off school. That is something that I
snow days?
Snow days or just like bad weather days or whatever, but mostly snow days. You see across the ticker and like school's off,
yes.
like so you go back to sleep. You're more excited to get up for school to see that you're off for school for a snow day than you actually were about actually doing anything else.
Right.
And it was such a cool moment. Now what I do with my kids, I did this during this year was I let my son, he's like, we got school tomorrow, it's snowing. I was like, yeah, we got school tomorrow. And we get text messages at night saying school's off. And I'd let him wake up and say, you got school in the morning? I'd be like, oh, let's go out there and check out the TV. I want him to experience that. And I'm like, oh, look, the TV says it. He can't read yet. I would just tell him that. It would still be a ticker on the TV.
Right.
And he'd be like, yes,
like how we were.
Like you gotta have those moments with the kids. So I'm trying to still keep that in something where he can
keep it alive.
Keep it alive pretty much, yeah. So that is something that kids will just never get to really experience unless you let them experience it.
Exactly.
Because everyone's like, you get the text message? That's like my friends, like kids say to them, do you get the text message? I'm like, that's terrible. I fucking hate that. I hate
it's like instead of waking up at 3 hours, normally get up like 6 or 7 or whatever. Now you had to get up at like 4 or 5 just to watch it.
Well, my friends were like, why would you just get up to do that? Because like you already know they have school, so you get to sleep in the day or a little bit longer, and they have to stay home. It's like there's no sleeping with kids. So like when you get to experience that, but at the same time, it's like let them be a kid, let them enjoy that.
Right.
There'll be plenty of time for them to be an adult, and you can sleep and jackass, go to sleep or whatever.
I had what I had, like I said, was waking up early and then having to watch the ticker constantly until it was really the normal time I left to see if school was canceled or not.
Right.
You didn't know if you went back to sleep, your school could have been canceled, or if you stayed up, you're still going to fucking school.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn.
There's times that my mom knew that I was so excited to get off school, and there'd be days like, oh, you just got to go to school today or whatever, and I'm like, she's like, you can stay home today.
Yeah.
And she would just say like we didn't want to go to school because the roads were bad or whatever.
Right.
And you can get away with that.
Well,
nowadays,
hills and shit over there.
I don't know if you know this, but nowadays at school, you're only allowed to miss so many days.
Yep.
And then after that, you have to have like parent notes or doctor notes or anything like that says like why I missed school, and you have the parents come in and talk to them what's going on or whatever. And that's stupid in my opinion, but I guess it's why they do it, right? Because the state pays them for when the butts are in seats, and that's how they get their funding. Right. So if they're not there, they're not getting paid.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
One of the problems I had was growing up was also with the damn it, lost my train of thought now here. with
Calling friends.
Colin Farrell. No.
No.
Pause it. I'm trying to think. What the fuck was it? And speaking of notes, stuff like back in the day, like I remember when they had the great flood of '93 of St. Louis.
Oh shit, I remember that.
I was in 6th grade, and the roof leaked so damn much that we missed so much school, especially like the junior high because the roof collapsed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But my school, we missed so much school that they added 2 weeks to the year and like an extra 15 minutes to class. And my last class, I fucking hated in the first place. So I was like, man, I got to deal with this bitch in another 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, I want to get the hell out of here. But, nowadays, I don't even think they do that anymore. They add school years to school days and school years.
They do. So what they do, they have built-in school makeup days, I think now for a lot of stuff, and I don't think I think they count for them, whatever, and they'll add on extra days. But it just depends. It's situational, I think, for every school. But I think for most of them, they have built-in days now, and then if they miss too much, then they start putting the extra days.
That's when they do the virtual shit.
To me, it's stupid,
Yeah.
especially like in the school year, like when nothing's going on. It's like, what are the kids doing here? Like,
Right.
it's pretty much a free day,
Right.
But
Because half the time the teachers didn't even make it to school.
yeah, right. Yeah, they would make it in school, and they'd be sitting in
Substitutes
class
and
with
shit.
substitutes
Yeah.
or whatever, or they'd have to have 2 teachers with all these kids in class or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I think
It's
kids.
a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword. Yeah. What's the double-edged sword about it?
It's a good thing. It's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's stupid.
Yeah, I know. I had to throw it in there.
I know. So that was one of the I had.
Yeah.
The next one I put on there is blowing into game cartridges. I just thought that was cool, like and knowing that my son plays Nintendo, and he'll be like, "What are you blowing this game cartridge for?" Like he did, and he's like, "Do I need to do this to the CDs or any of that stuff?" It's like, no, buddy, you don't have to do any of that stuff. That was a struggle kids will never get to experience.
Yeah.
Blowing a Nintendo or Super
I remember
Nintendo or any
because
of
I
that
never
stuff.
had I never had Nintendo growing up or Super Nintendo or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I remember playing it with what was his name? I think his name was Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Chris something. When we were playing Nintendo games, and I was switching them out, and the first time he ever told me blow in the cartridge when it wasn't working. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, blow in the cartridge. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And he's like, here, just do this, and
Yeah.
blow into it, and it works fine. I'm like, huh. Okay.
So come to find out what's funny, over the years of getting older and wiser, when I watch people who are really big retro gamers, the first thing they all say is never blow into a cartridge because the spit that gets in there ruins the circuit boards and all that stuff. But they never said that. And then eventually Nintendo actually they would put on there, do not blow in the cartridge.
Right.
Do not put anything wet in here to clean off the stuff. And then when they came out with that isopropic alcohol that you can clean, it cleans it and then it'll dry up or whatever. Then the people started using that to clean.
Well, I think the reason why we did it back in the day was because it was dusty. If you leave your stuff hanging around, it's dusty.
Right. People leave it in. They would leave it plugged into the console or unplugged, and and that's why they came out with those Nintendo boxes and all that stuff.
The sleeves.
The sleeves and everything to keep dust and particles out.
Yeah.
But yes, there was a reason why they did it. It was for the dust, right? And there was something to it, like blow into it 3 times and press the power button. It would work, Like funny rituals that kids would do, and they came up with, and it just became wildfire, word of mouth. Everybody blew into their cartridges. I thought that was cool. Kids will never get to experience that.
My buddy Sam, he's an IT. He was an IT guy at a prestigious restaurant.
Worldwide.
I won't say another place. Not you. Sam, I said his name.
No, Prestige Worldwide with their bugs.
Yeah.
Separate.
Whenever people would come in and ask for if something's wrong with their computer or something wrong, he'd always say blow in it first. He never said turn it on, turn it off. He just said blow in it.
And they'd be like, what?
And they're like, some people got it. Some people are like, what? Huh?
So here's our next one. Is there anything else you have about
No, that's good.
blown cartridges?
Yeah, we're good about blowing.
Yeah. Calling a landline
Oh, Jesus.
for friends or family.
Oh, God. Here, I'll do one better. Calling a land. That's great. That's been a year since I've used a landline. I think probably at my old job at the school, that was the only time I actually used it. But actually calling a landline, and before call waiting was around,
Right.
You had to keep calling back, and even with the movie theater, when you
Right.
call the movie times, you had to keep calling back until you got that person. And if you call too many times, the operator shows up.
Yep.
And says like, "Excuse me, is there an emergency or why are you calling this number?" So what that was the shit back in the day.
Or you just let it continue to ring. Someone
exactly
would just leave it on hold.
yes.
Leave it ring. Before they had speakerphone, you had to sit there and hold it. And kids will never know the struggle. Like parents, they invented that thing that was a head strap that went over your fucking phone to put against your ear.
In your shoulder.
Shoulder to ear.
The shoulder one.
How many problems that caused with people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fucking hilarious. But something else I brought up into it, I didn't thought about when I was over on the way here as well, was just with the landline thing is all just calling your friends and doing whatever was actually there was two things. Is one, when you got pissed at someone, you'd slam the phone down.
That's what, when your parents are mad at you, and then you heard if you were talking to them, then once you hear the dial tone, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Mom's
But
pissed.
the house, you would hear people slam the phone down when they're in a fight or whatever. It was mad. That was always cool. I thought that was always a funny thing because I did that before.
Oh yeah, I think we all have.
Plenty of times. And then also, when someone would call, you would hear one of your parents say, "I'm not here."
Yeah, tell them I'm not here.
And it was just like something you just don't hear anymore from anybody.
Right.
I'm not here because everybody's got a phone. So
now, were you proper? Did you say hello, or did you say this is the van residence, or what?
I'd say hello.
Just hello.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not like
I was never proper like that either.
I'm
I might
calling
put that on
proper
my point.
Van Niskum residence or anything like that, or Bradley residence. It's like no, not at all.
Exactly.
But what's funny about that is when you would say that, you would answer the phone and be like, "Oh, she just stepped out, or she's not here right now."
Right. Can I take a message?
Right, and they'd be like, "Who was that?" Can I take a message or whatever? And then the pinnacle point was when fucking caller ID came out, and that was like the greatest thing ever. I remember having a separate thing plugged into our phone, and you pick up the caller ID to see who it was, and you knew exactly who was calling. It would say their number and name, and that
unless they star 67 G.
Unless they star 67,
then it was always unknown. Or
and if
star
you were cool,
69, call back.
You would do the star 69, call people
exactly.
back.
That is the days.
Those were the days of landline. Kids will never understand the struggle of a landline. And here's one more, and then we'll move on to the next one, is if you didn't dial the phone number fast enough, it would fucking crap out on you. So even if it was on a rotary phone or whatever, if you didn't wait long enough to press the button.
Remember cordless phones? Those, they never charged for so long. You can only leave it off the charger for so long.
My mom and dad still have cordless phones. They still have their landline. It's been over 30 years.
That surprised me.
Most people that are boomers still do. They still have it, and my mom and dad love it. I call the house phone all the time. That's my favorite number to call.
That's the first thing to call because that's usually where they are.
And they got 3 cordless phones, and my mom will pick up, my dad will pick up, and my dad will pick up and act like he's not on the phone. My mom will be like, "I hear you on the phone. I'm trying to
get
talk.
up, hang up.
I'm trying to talk to
you." Or they pick up right when the machine picks up and
I'm
they
trying
record
to talk
your
to your
conversation.
son. He's like, "I'm just listening in." He's like, "Stop eavesdropping our fucking conversation." I was like, those are the funny days to be able to eavesdrop and do that kind of stuff. Or pick up the phone. Your sister was on the phone with a boy or something and be making noises in the background. Yeah, just whatever. To fuck with them. And like,
don't forget and bring back a little nostalgia thing. What's up?
Yeah. Those are the days, man. Just kids will never understand the fighting on the phone. I used to always tease my sister on the phone. They were talking to their friends, or their friends would call, and I would
I could see you doing that
all the time, dude. It was funny. Or one more I thought about was going through the phone book to find numbers.
Yes.
Or just to prank people.
Yes. Randomly just pick a letter, then pick a page
name,
and point.
Pick a letter and name, call them, and just fuck with them. The refrigerator running one or whatever.
I will admit this. She's not alive, so I can admit this. I used to call my grandma and prank her. Whenever my friends would come over to spend the night, we would call her and say just the most disturbing shit ever. And it was my grandma didn't know anything about caller ID or anything like that. So I would. It was. I feel a little bit bad now for it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, that was fucking.
Remember the one that came out on the Cowboy Central, Crank Anchors?
Yes.
I just thought about randomly. I love that. I always was in the prank phone calls. The Jerky Boys, all that kind of stuff was funny. Like those were the days of like doing funny stuff with your friends. Spending the night, randomly call people.
What is your favorite scary movie?
Yeah, so that was cool to me. Kids will never get to experience that. Now I'm sure you can still call people and prank people on your phone, whatever. Definitely. But it's not the same.
Yeah,
everybody.
Now it's more illegal. More illegal. Not illegal
now it's more illegal. Now you can call and
it's harassment and everything else.
Yeah,
stalking.
Or calling up the stores and asking about items that they didn't have in stock or whatever, just fake shit. Like that was always good.
Told Bart Simpson is, hey, I need to speak to Mr. Rection, Mr. Hugh G. Rection.
Yeah.
We had so many different names that we came up with doing that. It was so great.
Those are good days.
Oh man, you bring me back.
So landline was always a good one for kids. How about falling asleep and waking up to the fucking DVD screen?
I never.
You ever fall asleep watching a movie and you'd wake up and go back to the home screen of DVD and just have like a bouncing thing around or whatever? And
but I'll tell you this story. When Marianne and my dad bought it, first time they ever bought a DVD player, they didn't know jack shit about it. They got this nice ass one that had like a radio on it, CD, DVD, surround sound speakers, all the whole fucking 9 yard shit. It was a nice ass little DVD player.
Yeah.
they didn't know how when they were watching Polar Express. This is how I remember it. And I was working at the casino at the time, and they didn't know how to work it. Obviously, so I would tell them before I left for work, saying, "Hey, this is you do this and hit play, and then you hit input to
Change
to
TV.
change in this and that, whatever." The whole spiel. Okay, I get home from work 6-7 o'clock in the morning. I'm hearing this noise. I didn't know what the hell it was. I was like, all right, fuck, I'll go to bed. I get woken up by this noise. Like, the fuck is there a train? Am I tripping here? Am I am I flashing back or what? Come to find out, they turned the TV off, but not the DVD player. So it was still playing Polar Express menu over and over again all fucking night from whenever they went to sleep until whenever I went up there and turned the damn thing off.
That's hilarious.
I was just like, I was flipping the fuck. I was seriously, dude. I was like, what the fuck is that train coming from?
Yeah.
Why? It sounds like it's right here.
So the DVD player thing, I used to wake up at the menu once in a while when movies and fall asleep when I was a kid in my room, or even out in the living room, on the couch or whatever, or playing a CD in the DVD player, but I didn't have a CD player or whatever it was, or I would listen to music through the house or something like that. That's just something kids that will never do it nowadays, right? Here's a cool one. This is more like nostalgia. I don't know if kids do this anymore. I'm sure they still do, but it's not as much because I think it was more
Didn't have much fun as we did.
Huh?
Didn't have much fun as we did.
Yeah. Getting an empty shoebox for whatever and just storing like your cool shit in there.
Yes.
Is that something that's just a throwback that kids will never experience? Like,
I mean, girls I knew used to put like the notes that we would write. The
Or
boys
pictures.
would write them pictures, just stuff from high school or even before that, whatever. Us guys would put just random shit in there. Sometimes I would put our pipes in there, whatever.
pipes, stickers.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever you would want to put in
that
there.
was our storage bin. Was a shoebox. Every single time somebody got new shoes, that's the first thing we did.
You want to know something funny?
You still do it, don't you?
I still do it.
I know you do.
So
I kinda figured.
in my closet where I keep all my
what's in
shoes.
your shoebox?
You don't want to know. Actually, it's nothing bad. I need some like a storage compartment and whatever. I'm like, what can I put in? I'm like, I got this empty shoebox, nice shoebox, and I put in like extra like my gloves and like hats and like I don't know, like random like stickers and cards and stuff that I'm like,
Stuff you don't want to lose.
Stuff I don't want to lose, and something that means something to me, and stuff that I just didn't want to throw away. So like I have a bunch of random shit in there.
Or something you'll use later, but they're still in the box.
Exactly. I have a lot of that shit too.
Trust me, I know. You can see it down here.
Something you gave for my birthday a couple years ago, those cool air fresheners or whatever you gave me or whatever. I've only used a couple, and when I got done with them, I put them back in the bag, and they're in that shoebox.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm not throwing these away. Like this, Tim gave me these. They're cool. I was like, I it's stuff I cherish.
Still set them there.
Yeah. So the shoebox thing, I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
something
that is very cool.
That was something that's definitely a throwback to
Not
children.
just shoebox, just like any kind of like nice looking box, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and you know what? I do that. I'm gonna do it with my kids and say, hey, like here, put the shoebox and put like all your cool things that you want in here. Like it could be like little figurines or whatever. It's something that they find cool.
Yeah.
And they want to hide it. It's like you always want to take it and want to hide it so no one else knows.
Because nobody's gonna think about it. They're gonna think it's shoes.
Right. So that was always a cool one.
They're not serial killers.
Now this one would be funny because it kind of bleeds into a couple of them. But the first one I remember is I don't know. This randomly popped in my head last night. You go through like a catalog or get something in the mail that'd be like 12 CDs for 1 cent.
Columbia House and BMG.
Yeah.
Yes, I still actually own some of the CDs when I bought the 12 for a penny.
I did it too.
Yeah.
So that was always cool. The 12 CDs.
We always thought that was a great deal, but then once you joined it, you had to make the promise that you had to buy a 6 at regular price, and back then CDs were like $20. That was pretty fucking expensive.
Yep.
After a while, but then they have a deal. Like you buy one at regular price, you can get 4 or 5 more for like $5 or whatever. You're still getting ripped off because you still have to buy 5 or 6 more with the regular price.
Right, and the $5 ones weren't the ones you wanted.
Exactly.
Right.
Or if you didn't send back the card saying you didn't want this certain CD, they'll send it to you, and then you have to send it back to them. It's like it's a whole hassle.
It was a game, and they knew.
And they won. They always won.
They played the game, and it was like the record companies. They just knew.
Exactly.
Right? To get you in the hook, the 12 CDs for 1 cent. I
did
it one time.
I had like I said, the Columbia House is the one I used.
The next one it goes into it's just burning CDs.
Yeah, see, that was when I barely learned how to burn CDs until like maybe 10 or 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. When I first started ripping CDs, I never knew.
I was one of the kids at school that everybody would come to and be like, "Hey, can you burn me a CD?"
You had LimeWire and the best fucking computer in the whole world.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had it, and because LimeWire, you had LimeWire, and most people didn't know what LimeWire was until we got older. I mean, not saying Napster and all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, people knew of it.
Yeah, they just didn't know how to do it.
didn't know how to do it, and you would have to know not how to which ones get the viruses and all that stuff. So I used to charge kids at work, or not work, but at school, like CDs or whatever. Like I make a CD for $5.
Yeah,
$5 is a lot of
money.
Because
back then, CDs were not as cheap as they are.
You could get 20 or 30 CDs for $5 at Walmart, and I would buy a couple of racks of them, and then I would just make kids CDs, and I would have like all the like popular songs that were on. Casey Kasem's fucking top 10 or whatever it was, and I would make those for and I'd make like, here's a pop one, here's a rock one, alternative one, and I would just take them. Now, obviously, I'd make them free for my friends and family and all that stuff, but most kids didn't. And then as time went on, it became more of a mainstream thing. Buy a computer, it's got a CD burner on it, and kids would get their free thing of CDs.
It's like making a mixtape. That's why when I was growing up, that's what we did was cassette tapes. We'd make some mixtapes.
Right, and that's something that kids want to get experience is burning CDs and doing that. But also, I guess bleeding into that with the cassette tapes, you would sit next to the radio when your favorite song come on, you would fucking hit that thing and record on it, right?
Yep.
I think I did it one time or something when I just figured out about it, but like my sister was more that era of like early 90s that did that. I was too young to really figure that out.
Yeah, I did that a lot, and a lot of times, if you didn't have a stereo with a dual cassette to it, one has record, one has play, you held up two boom boxes next to each other to record off that way, and that's how some of the I had some of the shittiest sounding tapes because that's the way we did it. We had two boom boxes facing each other. One was recording, one was playing.
Yeah.
And it worked for us, but at the same time, it's just like, goddamn, dude.
Just kids.
There's got to be something easier.
Just kids being kids, man.
Exactly.
Just things,
trying to figuring things out on your own.
Right.
Because my parents never do that kind of shit. They didn't care.
And they're too busy to care because they're adults.
Right.
And that's kind of stuff it's out of sight, out of mind for them. They're not worried about that kind of stuff.
Nowadays, people are ripping records now. There's people learning how to make their own records.
Right.
Which is really cool, I think.
I think that is cool, and they're selling them, and I've seen them. I know it's illegal to do whatever, but there's like a whole movement for that. I was reading that not too long ago.
Yeah.
So going from the burning CDs and all that stuff, I mean, because I got a huge list, so we can't sit here and reminisce on all of them as much as I'd love to. This one's hilarious because this is a real fucking old one. Plastic on couches. Kids will never expand trying to get fucking.
Get your ass on that couch.
It's mostly our grandmas.
Yeah.
And like, why do you have plastic on couch? Because I want to keep it nice and the way it was. And, a lot of black people. I'm just gonna say it. A lot of black people probably still do it. I know it's a black thing for a long time on couch or whatever. And they used to make fun of like movies and shit. Yeah. Put your ass in that plastic. Like on Friday or whatever it was or something.
Your ass on that plastic.
Yeah. And it's still funny, but it holds true to some merit that everybody used to do this back in like the early 70s and 80s or whatever. And one of the struggles was when I remember my grandma had one, and she took it off eventually, but trying to get comfortable on those things was awful.
God, dude. Try sleeping on it. That's the worst.
Really?
Yeah.
I never slept on one of those, so I could never speak to it.
I mean, you had the nice fluffy pillows, but then you had the every time you try to move around the damn couch. But see, they don't do it as much anymore, obviously, because the couches don't come in that kind of plastic anymore. They didn't have the cushions were separate from the couch that you had to put plastic on, whatever. It just it wouldn't work nowadays. It's too much playing around.
So that was it's not everybody kids will never know the struggle of plastic on couches.
Oh yeah.
Now this one's a good one. Okay. If anybody played video games will know this one. Writing down game codes, cheats, and just other stuff that you would have written down. And it was funny because I saw this not too long ago, and that's when I wrote this down, was some kid was like, he opened up his old video games, he whatever, and when he sold them to somebody, the guy opened up and he said, they have all the cheats written down.
Yeah.
On a piece of paper inside, and they taped it inside the cartridge of the box. And he's like, there must be 30 games with here with all the cheats. And because back then we didn't have the internet, so you had to write them down. He's like, "This is really cool." He's like, "I'm keeping this in the box." I'm like, "Dude, that is fucking cool. That's a real throwback right there."
A buddy of mine used to go to get Nintendo Power from the Schnooks and write down the codes. And then after a while, he got ballsy. He would either rip the page out of the or he would take the whole magazine.
I have a topic about that too. It speaks to that, but I'll tell you right now, that was one of my favorite things to do with my mom when she take us to the store. She knew I would always be in the magazine section, and they started getting smart and putting plastic over them. I'd rip them open, read the new Game Power, write down the codes and cheats, or I'd do that at Blockbuster.
Yep.
Or they have the walkthrough guides that you wouldn't want to pay for, so you'd go to find the level that you're stuck at, read it all, and try to write it down and memorize it. You should do that as well.
Here's something for you. I know this has to be either right before your time or you were too young to even remember it. Schnooks actually had a thing when you could rent a Nintendo there or a Super Nintendo, but you also could rent the Nintendo Powers, like kind of like the library kind of thing. You could rent the Nintendo Powers as long as you didn't tear it up or anything like that. You could do that, and it was free when you rented the console. It was great.
I didn't know that. I know you could rent consoles, and some of my friends did do that.
Yeah, I did. We did that.
I just never knew you could do that with the thing, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So that was something that was cool.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everybody can get their codes and cheats online in a second from your phone or whatever it is, which is cool. But there was just something cool about figuring it out and being that guy and like, guys, I have all these codes and cheats, and your friends coming over and you getting to show them.
Right. Especially Mortal Kombat when you're sitting there, button mash, you don't know what the hell you're hitting. You're trying everything. You just tried again to see if you can copy it.
Exactly. This one my sister will appreciate because actually probably both of them, or any girl actually really, but photos from disposable cameras, and have to go to get them, drop them off, and wait a week to get them back. Nowadays you can drop them off and get them back in an hour.
Not even that. Mm-hmm. You just hook up to your phone, to your computer.
Well, disposable cameras I'm talking about, right? You can still do it, and they still.
What about Polaroids? Remember Polaroids?
That came out after. Oh, actually, that was before. But now they're expensive.
Oh fuck yeah, they are.
They're still expensive nowadays.
Yeah, it's like, dude, it's ridiculous. But,
I do remember.
Yeah, I remember going to Walgreens and getting a disposable camera, and then after a while they had the thing where like if you bought the one certain kind of camera, you can get free film for life or whatever. Mm-hmm. I took advantage of that like a motherfucker.
I remember, and it always will stick in my brain. I think I brought it up before, but maybe I didn't. Was one time my sister left her disposable camera in her room. We're downstairs in my basement. Me and my friends rolled up a blunt and we're smoking, and I said, let's fuck with her and take some funny pictures. Yeah. I still have one of them on my phone or saved in my iCloud. I was sitting there like in one of my workout shirts or whatever, had my cool chain on or whatever, and I flicked my sister off on the camera. And then there's another one I have, and I drew on a piece of paper that says, Ashley sucks dick, and drew a big picture of a dick. And I held it up like this, like just holding it up like this, and set it on there. And I'm smiling, just laughing. We're just laughing. And when she got the camera developed and brought it home, man, I was dying. Even my mom was laughing when she saw what happened. Now, my sister was really pissed off, but at the same time, after a while, she started laughing, and she kept the picture and stuff. Yeah. And I found it not too long ago. It was just fucking funny. So. Funny memories. I always fucked with my sister, so that was always something funny that I did. But yeah.
I remember girls taking pictures in their bras, and they were scared to because they weren't sure that Walgreens would actually send it to us or develop it, and then so they couldn't give it to us or not. And they were always so scared about that.
I remember in high school, and this was randomly popped in my brain. My friend had a lingerie party. It was for pimps and hoes, he called it or whatever, right? Great idea. I was so into it. So he had to come. Guys came over in robes and girls came over in lingerie.
Obviously, yeah.
Great party, and I brought my brand new Nikon camera, and I was like, when we get drunk, I was like, watch all the girls want to take photos. So I put it out. I was taking pictures of some of my friends, like to remember the night or whatever, and the girls like, I want to take pictures. Dude, I got so many good pictures. Now this sounds terrible, but at the time it's like, I wanted to save the memories.
That's
also,
what you did. Yeah.
There was a lot of hot girls there, so I want to remember. Dude, I had so many good photos or whatever that night, and then a lot of those girls ended up coming over to my house. I don't remember what happened. I remember we had a good time. Yeah. I don't know if anybody got late or anything happened like that, but those memories lived on my camera. Yeah. Worst part about it was one of my jackass friends stole it from me, and I never got the fucking camera back, and I lost that footage, whatever. And I was like, it was just high school memories. It was like all my group of friends, guys. I didn't have any nudes or anything like that on there, but it was just the environment. I was like, this is something I want to remember because I never got to go to a party like that. Right. So it was cool. Right. A memory's still in my brain. Sometimes my friends, when we talked about it, we brought it up before. Like, you remember that party you went to? It was just a cool time or whatever. Yeah. And some of to me, and during that time, there were some of the hottest girls in my grade and younger girls in the younger grade or whatever. To me, like the grade below me, they were in there. I was like, dude, this is such an epic party. We stayed there all fucking night. It was cool.
I would too. Shit.
So that was cool. Yeah. Camera shout out on my Nikon camera. So talked about that one. Oh, this one's a really good one. Kids will never experience the pushing your finger on the fucking Duracell batteries or Energizer batteries to see if there's life in the battery so you could have something. I don't think
The battery tester.
The battery tester. I think I broke my finger sometimes fucking pushing that thing so hard.
I never knew how. I mean, every time I didn't know how hard you had to do it at first. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this battery's dead, and we just got it. So how's that kind of happen, kind of thing?
But you had to press super hard to see the power from your finger to push up the battery. Like, what a fucking stupid promotion. But kids, and you got to pay extra for those batteries.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I always remember that. That's just something stupid.
I remember. I don't know if it was. Yeah, it had to been before. Yeah, before they actually had them on the batteries. They actually had them on the packaging. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, if you push too hard on the packaging, you're crushing it, and which kind of made no point of doing it.
Right.
Of doing it because you broke it.
So that was just something stupid. I remember the struggle because everybody needed batteries for things when batteries became a big thing for toys or whatever it was. Right. Now this is right up your alley and mine. But listening to the radio, dude.
Yeah.
Listening to radio is just a dead thing for kids. Technology. When you want to listen to comedians or like Howard Stern or just Casey Kasem to figure out what was the cool songs going on with pop culture or whatever you wanted to do, because there was no internet. There was none of that.
That was your MTV away from MTV. That was your MTV in the car kind of thing.
That's how you discovered music and bands. And like we said before, whatever they played, you just thought was the popular music.
And that's all you thought there was, too. That's the problem.
You didn't. Sometimes it took you a long time to figure out what the song was called, who the band was. It's like you had to play the fucking guessing game when you were a kid.
You had to wait to the very end where they said it, or if they didn't say it, you had to find out. You had to ask somebody or whatever. Hey, I just heard this song.
Yep. Stuff like that was.
Kids will never.
They'll never experience that. Radio, even though the radio's still there, like I said before, I listen to it once in a while.
Yeah.
Very seldom do I do, but like the blues game's on in my car and I'm driving, I'll
that's
turn it
different.
on.
Yeah. I listen on Friday nights on lcccradio.com.
I listen to your radio show, but that's the internet.
At 3 p.m. on Eastern Central Times.
Yeah, so everybody listens to our podcast. Turn that on Fridays.
Yeah, turn me on.
No. Don't, please. Here's the next one, and everybody will be able to have this one. It's the dial-up internet.
Yeah.
Kids will never experience the struggle.
Mom, get off the phone. You're on my internet.
Mom, get off the phone. I'm on the internet.
That noise.
Yep. Stealing the AOL CDs from people's newspapers so you get free hours.
30 free hours or something.
So you have to pay for it.
Yeah, you were on there forever. So you
me
had,
and my
like,
friends used to go around and just steal a bunch from them and use it all the time.
Yeah. Or we used to sell them too.
You should sell them.
Yeah. You thought 30 free hours was like the longest fucking time ever, but no, as much time as you spent on it, it wasn't.
Nope.
It got sucked, used it up real fast.
I got another one that bleeds into it is just AOL Instant Messenger. Getting on there to meet your friends online and hang out.
God, I remember before
group chats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but that was like peak internet, like AOL days, right?
Right. AOL basically was the only thing around, and then they started coming out with other ones. It's just like, it's not so good anymore,
Yeah.
And now, if it's still around?
It's still around on Yahoo, but nobody uses it, man.
Yahoo,
It's a dead thing. I think you can get on there just like they have like a web version you can get, and I think you might be able to find it somewhere to still download, but the reality is I think it's such a big security thing that nobody puts it on their computer anymore.
I think maybe, last I heard, maybe we still had that for her email address.
She probably still does. AIM or whatever it was.
No, AOL. AOL.com.
People still have their AOL email addresses. Like, it's just like Hotmail. I still have my Hotmail, which is now Outlook. But they kept the URL, not URL, but the
RL.
Yeah. They kept it just because there's so many people that still have those accounts and they want to keep them, right? And one day they might push them or force them off of it. But I don't
remember what my first email was.
I'll still remember this. I'll bring this up because this was.
I think this was Timmy666 at Yahoo.
This is how immature people were back then. I think we brought this up on our podcast too. I always say this kind of shit, but I remember my first email address was Big Pimp Randy 23 at like AOL.com, and that was my AIM name or whatever, right? Because everybody used to have the cool AIM name. And when I went to the bank for the first time to sign up for a checking account, the teller that was there, and dude, I remember she was a good-looking girl.
Yeah.
I told her my email name. She fucking started laughing, just bawling, laughing. Even my dad started laughing. I was embarrassed as fuck.
Yeah.
And then I told her, I was like, well, I use it for AOL Instant Messenger, and she's no, I get it. She was laughing because she's like, I hear something funny. She's like, this is the funniest one I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I remember there's always girls they had like cool names or whatever. And this one always sticks in my brain. It was my friend's girlfriend. Her name was Too Hot to Handle something, and I was like, why does that always stick in my brain? Because there was a lot of girls that had those kind of like they wanted the cute like cool names or whatever.
Yeah.
So Big Pimp Randy hit me up on AOL.
And of course, back then, you couldn't have anything close to other people's names because they wouldn't accept it.
No, but that always stuck in my brain. It'd always be my first email, so that was something cool.
Mine was Timmy666 at Yahoo. I remember that because that's when I lived in Florida, and that's how I got in contact with a lot of my friends from up here. But speaking of like your bank story, okay, I wasn't huge in ICP. I used to like them because my friends liked them and stuff like that. I had a bank account one time, and they have a movie they put out in, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s. It was called Big Money Hustles. Well, I went to my bank one time. I think it was to close the account, kind of, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years after I started the account. And the guy's like, I need to know what your name is on your account. And I told him my real name. And he's like, well, I need to know what the name you have on here to make sure I have the right one because there's so many, Tim Patrick's or whatever. And I was like, dude, honestly, I couldn't tell you. He's like, I'll give you a hint, ICP. was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So he started laughing his ass off. He's like, and he called somebody over to verify it. And he's like, your name was apparently Big Money Hustler. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
That's hilarious.
So, and then he showed me on the screen. It says whatever when you click onto it, whatever it says, hello, Big Money Hustler.
Well, the funny thing is about that too. It's like I'm sure everybody that used to work at banks or whatever back in those days.
Oh yeah, they do that kind of shit.
They used to have the funniest fucking email names and stuff.
Like my phone, my Verizon account right now is when you sign on, it says, "What's up, motherfucker?" It's great. I like when you get away with stuff like that.
Yeah, just stuff like that just doesn't. I mean, I'm sure people still make stupid email addresses.
Oh yeah,
right?
Of course, dude. Shit.
But like just back in those heydays, like it was like the cool thing to like if you had a cool online AIM name, everybody liked that.
Just a nickname or some shit, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't have a nickname back then. But that was the one I just came up with.
That was what we used to do. Yeah.
Big Pimp Randy, what up? So dial-up internet, AIM, the cool days.
Right.
This one's always a good one. Obviously, we talked about VHS, so I won't use that one. But yelling when your favorite show was back on TV, if you walked away from the TV, like your friends would be spending the night, you would watch the show.
Commercial's over.
Christmas over, you'd be in the bathroom, you'd run over and jump over the couch to get
Whenever
back on.
Tom and I would watch wrestling, that's what we do. We'd literally barge through every fucking thing, any obstacle, to come back because wrestling was on because we were afraid we were going to miss something.
Yep.
Yep.
That was a
every
good one.
time.
Kids will never experience that. And
they can kind of now because they have ads in between streaming shows or whatever, but not as much fun probably as we had.
So the difference is, and I was going to bring that up too, is so when we were kids, I guess I'll just bring this up because it kind of bled into it, is kids will never know because if their favorite TV show was on TV and they missed it, they had to wait a week for the rerun to come back on. So
if you're lucky, you got to wait a week.
If you're lucky. Nowadays, you can just rewind it.
Exactly.
Or you can go find it somewhere else and
replay
stream it, right?
Yeah.
So that was a thing I used to hate. Like if there's a new show or anything, it's like, oh, I won't get this. Like when South Park used to come on, like on Wednesdays or whatever.
Which one are they gonna play? Which one are they gonna play?
Which one they're gonna play? And it's like, are they gonna replay this one? Then eventually they started replaying on Friday nights. They played on Wednesday, and then like Friday night, if you missed it, it will be on Friday at this time.
Exactly. That was so great. Yeah.
That was, and I would still watching both of them.
Right. Or you had, like with wrestling, we had to watch another show on the weekend to find out the recap.
Yeah.
We couldn't watch the entire match.
You had to watch Saturday.
Like that, but you had to watch Saturday Mania or whatever.
Saturday morning, whatever it was.
Yeah, Superstars or Wrestling Challenge.
And mentioning that, you saw Vince McMahon got fucking canceled, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Apparently, he shit on some girl's head or whatever. That's the
it's
story.
Alleged, yeah. I don't know the whole. I mean, I know the whole thing.
I'm gonna say it anyway because I don't care if YouTube cancels us at all. But
he quit his job too. By the way.
Yeah, he resigned, but he's still gonna be controlling it around the vaccine.
He's got the money. He doesn't need to worry about it.
And I know he doesn't, but he's
Go ahead.
Long story short, apparently he dumped on this girl's head and then went and took a shower, and then his friend came in and did
all his friends plural.
Yeah, friends plural. When he was taking a shower and she just left the dump on her head and they all just did. I'm like, that's fucked up. If that's real, that's fucked up. I wouldn't believe it. I mean, I do believe it because he's a billionaire and probably just paid her off to keep quiet, and then she only came out.
Yeah, that's part of the allegations that he paid her $2.3 million or something like that.
But only gave her $1 million.
Yeah.
So whatever, she'll get paid, and then
Brock Lesnar's thrown in there. A couple other names were thrown in there. It's like, dude, seriously?
Really?
Yeah.
I hope it's all fake because there's
wrestling's fake, so that's fake.
It is fake.
Real to me, damn it.
So that was just one. Yelling back on TV is a good one.
That's a good one.
We were talking about that. I had it down here. If you went into school and you saw that the classroom had the TV rolled out, it was going to be a good. It was going to be a good day.
It was going to be a good day.
Kids will never know that. Now, most classes do have TVs in them nowadays, and they're mounted on the walls, or whatever. I've seen a lot in schools, or whatever,
right.
But. That was a great day. You knew come in, the lights were already off, the TV's on, and that's what we're doing that day. And
or the worst day is when they brought out the projector, and because you had to learn with transparencies, and it was so dark because the entire time, and you fall asleep.
You fall asleep, you get in trouble, or they make you come up and write on the board, and the thing would blind you when you try to look
exactly.
in it. Those are the heydays of school.
Yeah, the TV one was the best though. That's when you knew, like you said.
All right, so I'm halfway through my list right now.
Okay.
All right, so the other half is going to start now. This one's a good one. Believe it or not, kids, if you're listening to this, we used to have physical maps to travel. And as we got older, we could print out MapQuest.
And MapQuest wasn't always right.
And MapQuest was not always right, but it was funny. And you want to hear a funny story? As we got older and our phones had GPS on it, my mother-in-law and father-in-law would still print out MapQuest direction in the car. I'd be like, "What are you guys fucking doing?" And they'd be like,
Right.
"Oh, we got MapQuest direction." It's like, you have a phone that will just tell you
Exactly.
And they're like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah." So I told them that, and they don't do that now. But for a long time, when 13 years ago when they first came out, they had no idea what that even was.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, you don't have to have a Garmin or any of that stuff." It's like, Garmin came out after a while, or whatever, and now they have it on their phone. Greatest, probably one of the greatest adventures ever is GPS, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
the physical maps of travel was. I remember when I was a kid, like my mom and then, like when we were going to Florida, looking at the maps and trying to figure out how I was getting lost.
Like that.
Yeah,
Oh god.
stopping the gas station, asking for directions, stuff like that. Man, that was the good old days.
I remember the last when GPS started getting big. This was when it was really starting to get big. Not quite. Jen and I were in Ohio, and we are trying to find this Walmart that's out in East Jesus, and it put us smack dab in the middle of a residential area. We're like, "Where's the Walmart?" I'm like, "Is it over the trees? Is it behind these houses?" No, it was wrong. I was just like, "Oh,
we're in the wrong spot."
And then of course, they started putting the thing like is accurate within 3 miles or some shit like that. Then they to cover their asses in case they were wrong or whatever. Now everything's like you can pinpoint where we are right now and kind of shit. But yeah, those were the days when you actually had the physical map and make sure you had the right map, because a lot of times like those bigger states, you can't fit the whole map or whatever. It's like they couldn't print the whole fucking thing. But it was them were the days. And like you said, when MapQuest came out, was it almost direct directions to get there. Then after a while, they started adding pictures.
Yep.
Say this is the right turn. This is what you should see in front of you.
Yep.
Stuff like that made it a
lot
easier.
It still happens with GPS nowadays. I find out people say they'll get down a road and the GPS will say turn here, and they're like, we're in the fucking forest. So how do we get down here or whatever you do it? And it's like there's been directions that have been bad. Google Maps, in my opinion, have always been better. Apple Maps suck.
Yeah.
And I always go off Google Maps because
Jen still uses MapQuest. The app.
The app for MapQuest.
Yeah.
I'm sure that one works fine too. I just like Google Maps.
Yeah, so do I.
I just trust Google a lot more.
Yeah, same here.
My trust in that kind of stuff has really went down.
Because you can see it. Because you can drop the little guy on the street and then you can have him go up and down the street until you find something.
Yep, exactly. So that was a big one.
I have to show you something for that, but go ahead and talk.
No, keep going. This one's really good, and this one's funny because little kids will never have no idea about it, but all old people will know this, and our parents will, is foil around your TV antenna.
No, not just that. Smacking this shit out of TV to make it work.
Well, smacking the TV shit out to make it work, but to get into channels, you increase the signal with a little bit of foil.
You ever see Married Children, the Fox viewing musicians?
Yeah.
That's
or they dress themselves on foil and they'd hold
they
the
put
position.
foil on each other, and then they had to touch each other's hands a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the day.
That was a heyday of doing this. I remember doing that when I was a kid. I remember my grandparents having it on theirs, whatever. Yeah. Did it really work? I think it did. I think it really did work.
And I don't know how, but it did.
It was funny though, but like something to do with you would transit the signal harder. So if you touched the foil, the signal strength would come in better. Obviously, when you tried to watch the No channel when you were a kid, and it was all the blurry channel. Scrambly.
Oh, I think I see a boob.
You see a boob or whatever. Yeah, we talk about that. And you brought it up, and which sparked a memory with me. I remember trying to do that with an antenna with my friends. We never got it in, whatever. But you could hear the noises sometime or whatever. You thought it was the coolest thing ever, and your parents come in like, "Are you watching that channel?" No.
Not anymore.
Channel 99. No, we don't watch that channel. What's
Channel
that?
99. That's right. That was the last and then after a while it was 99 and 98.
Yeah, it was 99, 98. You knew.
Oh yeah, of course.
We all knew.
Oh yeah.
Girls probably didn't know, but guys knew that. Spend a night at your guy's house, and everybody goes to sleep, and you guys would turn on the No channel.
That was one of the things, man.
So this one's actually a funny one that we'll never know, but we just talked about earlier. But missing your favorite TV show sucked. Like that was a big one. We'll move on from that because I already brought it up. But encyclopedias for school projects, you had to go to the encyclopedia to figure out how to do stuff, the site stuff.
And you copied it word for word.
And you copied it for word for word. That is something that I'll always remember. The kids will never know the struggle of. Now you got ChatGPT will write you everything for you with AI, but back then that was a huge thing that I fucking hated. I hated encyclopedias. I still hate them now.
Yeah.
I have a deep hate for them.
Remember the Encyclopedia Britannica?
Yes.
That they try to sell everybody?
Yes, and you have to have these at home and stuff, and parents would buy them, and they would just sit there and grow dust on a fucking bookshelf that no one ever used. Look up the encyclopedia.
Right, exactly.
A lot of grandparents should have it. This one's a newer one, but kids nowadays will remember is only winners get a trophy. Sorry to say it now that I've noticed it playing sports and stuff with my kid. Like these, I get why they do it, but there's this team that I'm not going to name anything, but when we play hockey, at the end of the game, they always give player of the game, and they give them like stickers and like all this other stuff at 5 and 6, which I get. It makes the kids happy. But you're rewarding them for something they didn't do well. I mean, player of the game's fine, but not getting them trophies for winning, that's a bit different conversation. I can live with that. I think that's okay. Because it makes kids like feel like, hey, they did really good, even if they lost or the game, whatever. Like there was a player of the game, he was the best player out there. Totally fine with that, because we used to get trophies back in the day for most assists, most goals, actually playing, whatever.
Not just showing up.
We would get the trophies. And there was one time I remember I got a first place trophy, most assists, most goals, and most points in the league, and I got something else. I got like 5 trophies, and they ended up having to give me a goalie trophy because they ran out of trophies to give me, but I didn't care because it was a trophy back then. And that was at Great Skate. Throw out the Great Skate.
Great Skate. Wow.
That was cool for me, but like nowadays, I just wish they would stop giving kids trophies. You can give them a pat in the back and say, "Hey, you did a good job." You know, make sure you're having fun, but you don't get a trophy unless you win. That kind of stuff to me is dumb.
That's how I feel about schools, like the know the kid left behind stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Make a kid learn. Seriously, he's gonna grow up stupid, or at least not very bright, and it's not gonna do him any good. When you know, just give him something for showing up. Come on, dude.
I totally agree. I just think the no left kid behind thing. There's the intentions are right, but if the kid has no intentions of doing good in school, it's kind of hard to let them pass. But they're about money and getting kids to pass and getting them out of school because they don't want to deal with them anymore.
Right.
You know. How about this one? When we were a kid, Mom, I'm going outside to play, but you wouldn't come home till night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
once the lights started going off.
When the street lights came on, you had to go home, or your parents would say, be home before dark for dinner.
Right.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Don't ride your bike.
Mm-hmm.
See, my thing was, my parents were real assholes. I really hated this really bad. Mm-hmm. Is we got out of school at 3. I got home about 3:15ish, whatever. Mm-hmm. They're like, I told them I'm going to my friend Chris's house, who lives, good 2-3 miles away. They wouldn't drive me, so I had to walk. So they're like, okay, I'll be home by 5. Like, I'm gonna not get there until 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the hell? So I learned these woods that are back here behind you, they're over here and shit, and learned how to get hit to his house in like 20 minutes. But still, at the same time, she's like, really? You want me to spend 5 minutes with my friend, if that?
I think it's one of those things where there was just more trust in the neighborhoods where you lived, and neighborly trust. We've talked about this before, and I always say that shit on this podcast. We bring up things we've brought up, but it's true. All this stuff holds still true to the point where kids nowadays will never get to experience like letting their parents just let them roam and experience things and adventure out and do stuff, because you can't trust anybody. You know, you have to know your kids are at all times. People have GPS in their kids now and do stuff in their shoes or whatever else, because people are sick and steal kids and do shit. So before you, like you're saying, you could go through the woods and go to your friend's house. I don't know if I trust my son to go in the woods if he'd come back out alive, or something would happen, or what would happen to him. Who's living out in the woods nowadays,
Exactly.
Your uncle, maybe. Who knows?
Damn it, they got rid of it.
So that was one, the kids will never get experience. It's just going outside. And maybe some kids get to still do that. I doubt it as much because of what's going on, but that was something that I always remember as a kid. My parents were like, just get out of the house and I'll see you later. Right. Here's a good one you'll remember. Everybody should remember this one, especially you, since you're a big music guy. You would buy a music album for the single and find out the rest of the CD sucked.
Yes. Yes, to a T.
Yes, I knew you'd like that one.
Yes, definitely. You bought the songs. You thought like, all right, this is gonna be the greatest fucking album ever.
You hear it on the radio. And all the rest of the songs sucked.
Everybody's talking. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh.
Can you name any CDs off the top of your head that you remember? Their singles. Man, I know this is hard.
This is gonna be very hard.
I think I bought a couple of rap. I'll remember when I was a kid, I bought a couple of rap CDs. I think DMX and something else I remember buying. My mom's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, this song's great," and we put it on. And she's like, "We listen to the rest of the CD." I'm like, "This CD is awful."
Yeah.
I bought this for this one song. You found that out real quick because you didn't get to discover music. They didn't let you play the other songs. It was a single, and that was it. And that's how you discovered music back then.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I'll cut you off one more time. Is when they started letting you play the songs and CDs inside the radio, or the place,
stores, yes.
The CD stores. So you could discover some music and sit in there. And people used to sit down and listen to the whole albums. And shit.
Yeah. I bought this one album. It was because it had the only reason why I bought it. Because it had the original version of a cover that Metallica did. I'm like, okay, I've heard of this band from the Metallica books I have or whatever, and I'm curious how they sound like. So I've purposely fast forward to find the damn song, and then one day I just sat down and listened to the whole fucking thing. I'm like, I just wasted like $15 on one song.
Mm-hmm.
this sucks. You know, it's when I had the tape. Of course, it's harder to because you got to sit there and weed through every single song. You don't know what the other songs sound like and what have you. But I was just lucky enough that that's the cover that Metallica did that they are. It sounds exactly like the original. But it's just like I just wasted all this money on this one song.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't buy the single obviously because different time. But it's just like
that was cool when you could buy a CD just for the single.
Yeah,
but that was a big gimmick too. But a lot of people liked it. They liked
right.
it.
Well, you just like my CDs in there now. I bought singles because not just because of the songs, it's because the extra stuff that was on there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time that especially the Metallica ones, there's demos where like when they first wrote the song, what it sounded like, which is totally different than like usually the finished product.
Right.
The production quality is like crappy as hell because that's like I said when they first wrote it,
Mm-hmm.
or it had like a B-side where they did a cover of another song or whatever.
Right.
And that to me that was cool as hell because that's I still had those CDs, which ironically now that they re-released into these $300 box sets, which I'm like I had it before.
Yep.
All you guys had it.
Yep. It was just something I knew when I remembered that I was like, man, Tim probably can remember this. But that's something I think a lot of kids they'll never get to experience because they can just go online and stream the whole album.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry
or the
about
one song over and over again.
Or the one song over and over again.
Oh yeah, that one hit me.
That one did hit you. That's an itch in the feelers. This one's a good one because I forgot about this.
I love your Mr. Burns look. You have when you look right now.
Yeah.
On your face.
Seating your text limit by a certain amount of characters,
Oh.
and you would get charged by it.
Not just that, just running out of text messages. Period.
Right, run out of text message. Period. But there was a point in time when kids will never have to know this. But like, if you went over the text message limit, you would get extra charge. You only like 30 words per text or something, and you get charged, right?
Yes.
So you'd use like emojis or like little symbols.
We didn't even have emojis.
That's right. We didn't
then.
use emojis. I'm sorry. You would use acronyms. Like that's how like LOL came out and like all this other stuff you have to use or whatever.
Yeah,
so
even before that. I mean, I remember I've been with Verizon since 2001, and I had the same phone number since 2001. And I remember my first plan. It was $400 to turn on the phone and get all the other spiel stuff with it. It was 3,300 minutes. After that, it was I think it was like $1 per minute or something like that. But then after 9 o'clock, it was free.
I was gonna bring
even
that
long
up.
distance was free.
I was gonna bring that up next.
We didn't have text yet. Now we had the text function on our phone, but nobody knew what the hell it was. Because I'm like, look, I can write the alphabet, yay, but what do I do with it? You know. But then after a while, people are like, oh, this is what texting is. I was like, huh,
it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was gonna say when I first got a cell phone. When I got the text message thing, I had my first one was a Nokia, whatever it was called.
Everybody had those.
Yeah, everybody had those. And the cool part about it was after 9 it was free. But like most kids, who's making phone calls after 9 o'clock? Most kids.
Right, exactly.
Kids were, whatever. I used to call like girls or like my friends at 9 o'clock because it was for free, just for fun. But my parents were like, you have to be off the phone by 9:30 or 10.
Exactly.
Not all my friends could stay up past like 9,
Right.
But I guess I was just one of the lucky ones. But anyway, I just remember making phone calls by 9. I thought it was the coolest thing. Like my phone calls are free.
Yeah.
On the weekends you could do it more, but and we could call me on our phones all the time, walk around on our phones, the mall.
Or you can even buy the fucking minute cards, but get extra
minute cards.
Like
yeah,
that.
I forgot about the minute cards. That's a throwback that kids will never have to worry about, dude.
Oh yeah.
Free calls after 9 and can you imagine kids exceeding text messages now?
Remember playing Snake on that too?
Oh yeah, Snake was awesome.
What was the other one? Snake.
I actually kept my Nokia phone with me, and I used to bring it to school just to play Snake on it when I was bored in school. That's how much I liked that damn game.
Yeah. I had the original Nokia, not the one that everyone thinks it's like harder than diamonds, but the original Nokia. And I remember I had almost like the entire screen full up with the Snake.
Yep.
That's how good I was.
I got pretty. I did the same thing. Got pretty close. I remember I spent like 30 or 45 minutes, almost an hour. Like, and if you got that far, it was like you're almost beating the game. But I don't remember how you beat. I think you got to a point where you filled up the whole screen and you beat it.
Yeah,
I don't.
much.
I never.
You still lose, but you in your mind you beat it because there's no way
you actually can beat it.
Really?
Yeah, if you go, because I looked it up. Can you actually beat this game? There's this guy on YouTube. I guess he holds like the world record or whatever. It's a dork, and he beat it or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's how you beat it. Like it shows you what happens at the end of the game. Now maybe I'm not in the phone, but there's other versions of like
that's the game. Okay. That I believe then. Okay. So the phone, because you only had that like what 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch square to get this, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah. So this is kind of the next topic. Kind of
You
bleeds.
get this Mr. Burns look on your face when you're like rubbing your hands together. Like,
Because this one's good. I
Evil
like it
genius
because
shit
kids
going
don't
on.
because kids don't have any idea about this kind of
Right,
stuff.
right.
Because we didn't have AirPods and all that stuff back in the day.
Right.
But Walkmans and portable CD players.
Dude, Walkmans are coming back actually.
Are they really?
Yeah, yeah.
I think after Stranger Things and what's her name in the
yeah.
Walkman, I think that's
What brought it
sparked.
back.
Did
Yeah.
it really?
Yeah, that's what brought it back. I think I found it. Did I find it? No,
I have my old portable CD player at my house, and it still works. I plugged it in. I found a plug to plug it in, and it
Yeah.
still fucking works.
I had mine. When I bought it when I worked at the casino.
For your
that's when I
car?
bought- yeah, for the car. I had that's because I had a tape player. You know, and then I
Stick
kept
the tape
that
in,
thing for the longest
Stick the
fucking
tape
time.
in and plug it in the portable
Oh,
CD
yeah.
player, and it'll play through your speakers.
And then after a while, I got my iPod, and my iPod worked the same way.
Yeah, I remember
the iPod
when I had my truck, my nice Silverado truck. It was the first time that they came out with. It was just right around when the iPod came out or whatever. And they made this thing that was a Bluetooth one that connected to your radio.
Yeah.
So I had the Bluetooth one, and it worked. And you just push a button and with batteries, and it would turn on or whatever. It worked really good. But then after a while, they got really finicky. So I went back to the old way of just hardwiring in my iPod, and that worked so much better.
Exactly. Yeah, kids. You know what we should do if we ever do this kind of topic thing again, where have Tommy come in here, some kid now that lives, basically in this generation, and then compare like, oh yeah, do you remember? Did you hear about this, or do you know about this? And see, he can do the same thing, and then grill us and see what we know and what we're like. Oh shit, well.
There's probably a lot of stuff we do not even know that goes on nowadays.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
in
what I'm
high
saying.
school and
Same
stuff.
thing with him.
I mean, I like we talked about before, like some of the words and shit that they say nowadays. I hear them saying like, and I'm like, dude, why are you saying this word?
I still say drip just for the hell of it,
I
just
say-
to make fun of people.
Drip is a funny one to say. I say it too, just to piss people off.
But I still say the slang when I was growing up.
I mean, so we said tight,
Yeah.
and whatever was cool.
I
Or,
still grill from talking about your teeth. you
yeah.
know?
Or I mean, those words kind of stick with people as they go through time. You
Yeah.
know, the bomb and all that bullshit. Raise the roof. I'm
Yeah.
thinking some really cringe ones now, but the one that I always think is really cringe that keeps saying like that shit's bussin'. I'm like, what the like that stuff bothers me, right? I do say the one that other stuff. I'm like, man, this shit slaps. A lot of people say that one. This shit
Jesus.
slaps, or
I say it's the tits.
yeah. And when I was a kid, like when we used to think something was really good, we would say it was fire. You know,
Yeah.
oh, that
Oh,
shit's
yeah. I
fire.
still
You
say
know,
that, yeah.
right? Yeah. So like
Oh man,
the good old days,
We're
right?
getting old.
I know.
we're getting old.
Yeah, just funny slang terms. We've already brought that up before
yeah.
on our older podcast, but
Yes, we have.
this one is another good one. Man, I thought
You
of
keep
some-
saying it's a good one. Don't
I know,
Stop
but-
saying that
I
because they
know.
all are.
they are a good one because it took me a long time to think about this stuff.
Right.
Finding your name in an old school book or your friends' names in a school book.
A
Kids
yearbook?
will never-
A yearbook?
No, just a used book at school, like a science book or something. You'd open up and be like, "Hey, Randy, use
Oh,
this." Or
yeah,
Randy,
yeah,
write your names in
yeah.
your books.
Somebody had this book last year or whatever.
Yeah, and you'd be like, "Oh, I know that person," or "There's my name in the book that used to be in there."
Yeah,
You'd find it
yeah.
like opening a book. I don't know why. That's kids will know how to write.
Same
their
thing
name.
with the library books. When somebody brought the library books, you could see the list of people who had it before you.
That doesn't even happen anymore. That was really cool. I do remember that too. That was just a throwback I remember in school. That was always funny, like writing your name in a school book or whatever.
Exactly.
So that
Or
was
then circling the page 69, or like
Yeah.
the cuss words in the
circling
dictionary.
the page 39, or writing that weird like dollar symbol and
Yeah.
that people used to
Oh, the
write.
S? Yeah.
Yeah. I got a cool topic at the end I'm gonna bring up and talk about that.
Oh boy. I remember this isn't just me. Whenever I got my math book for college, for community college, whatever, there's a picture of Family Guy in there. I go, I know I'm getting old when there's one of my favorite cartoons is in my math book.
It's fucking that's hilarious.
It's like son of a bitch.
We talked about this. Yeah, we already brought that one up. But this one is cool. When you got to go to the computer lab in school.
We didn't have
Well, it might have just been more my thing.
it was
growing
more
up,
your thing, yeah.
But like it was like kind of watching the TV stuff. The days you got to go in the computer lab and hang out and like work on the computer. Or
yeah, actually I do remember that, but we didn't have internet. We actually were like we did for shop class. We learned how to use like Microsoft
CAD, computer aided drafting.
I couldn't honestly remember the name of it. Just basically, we had to make a pool table with pool balls and cube balls, stuff like that. And that was our project.
It was probably some type of CAD program.
Probably.
But I did that too in school. When you did shop class or whatever, we did like stuff with AutoCAD and stuff, and we'd build stuff or out of metal or whatever it was. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. That's the other thing is metal shop, and do they even have wood shop anymore?
They still do, but I think it's kind of a dying thing. Not dying thing, but it's kind of like gym class. Gym class is not a forced thing. It's like it's now it's not mandatory. It's like it's like you do it, and if you want to, and you don't, because so many kids just don't want to participate in being physical or just being a kid. It's like
I hated doing the fucking miles. I never understood what was the mile had to do with knowledge, but I still went to fucking gym class and dressed out and stuff like that. Yeah,
I didn't like doing it either, but as I got older, I realized it was a good thing, keeping us active. You know,
exactly. The only thing I hated is the biggest thing I hated was having gym first hour and then you had to sweat the rest, or you were spilled like sweat the rest of the day.
I hated that too. Or what else do they do? I mean, the kids nowadays, they sit there on their phones.
They don't have auto shop either, I don't think.
They do. They still have shop. Yeah, because I've
asked. No, auto shop.
Yeah. We've talked about that before. They don't have shop class for like working on cars.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Because I know they stopped that in my school the last year. I went, actually, the metal shop, same thing.
I don't know why, but they should never stop that. Just for kids to learn basic things, how to troubleshoot in their car.
Right.
So going from this one, how about cleaning a ball mouse? Such a stupid thing, but so just
or
funny.
if you break it and then you had to put it in there just right.
Yeah, you had to put it in there just right, or if you you broke it, but getting all the lint and all the bullshit off them, so the ball. You know,
now you got to get the lint off your fucking mouse sensor. You know,
That's not really a thing
that's
anymore.
That's a thing, but it's not as big.
Probably not as big because now the mouse pads they make don't have that material that comes off. But I do remember that as a kid when laser mouses first came out, you get all the shit and the fuzz and the and stuff on it.
Those were the shit. Yeah.
I just remember that being part of the computer lab, just when I got a house. Floppy disk.
Oh God, hard disk.
Hard disk.
I'm not gonna. I shit you not. You can go ask her right now. There's a box. It's like a shoebox almost size.
Mm-hmm.
Jen has a shitload of hard disks, or the harder ones. The harder ones, floppy disks, or the big black ones.
There's two different kinds. Hard disks are the huge one. Floppy disks are the huge ones. The hard disks are the smaller ones.
Okay, because they were floppy. Okay.
Yeah.
Jen has a fuck ton of hard disks upstairs right now with pictures and shit on it.
Well, you know what? Someone brought this up that was funny. Like, I read about it. Was the hard disk. You know, you get them, and actually, that's what games used to come on.
Yeah, I remember
right?
that.
And you could get like.
And you had like 4 or 5 different cartridges because you had to do different levels for different parts. Yeah.
Doom used to come on it. That was a big one or whatever when I was a kid. And like
Wolfenstein. Wow, dude, I love Wolfenstein.
Those, and you can still find them.
Oh,
They're very collectible and very expensive, but you have to have a computer that plays that kind of stuff.
Right,
so
exactly.
I thought that was cool.
That's the hard part.
What's it called? I guess we kind of touched on it too, but reading magazines to stay up with pop culture, like we
touched that.
Well, you talk about with video games, but
music and
stuff like that. But
People magazine, whatever.
But they had all these magazines, and kids would read them up to stay up with their favorite artists or whatever. And that's how you figured out things because there was no internet. So, like I was saying, like sitting in there, mine was always the game magazines. But I did read some of the other ones. But I always remember my sister would get Bop and like all those other fucking weird ones.
Tiger Beat.
Yeah, Tiger Beat.
Yeah, I would get the music ones all the time, like Metal Edge and Metal Edge. Yeah. Stuff like that.
God, magazines used to be such a cool.
I know, right? I was actually in one an episode, a issue of Metal Edge. Mm-hmm. I want to say it was January '96 or either December '96. What I remember, because Metallica had right before they came out with the Load album, they were in the studio, and the magazine was talking about the album coming out.
Yeah.
I was in this section where it talked about like you needed pen pals or even that I had stuff to trade, and I got so much shit from people, magazines that from like Russia, newspaper clippings, pictures. I had so many magazine size pin up pictures of Metallica and even tapes, and not because CDs weren't even we couldn't rip them back then.
Right.
But so many different tapes I traded with people. It's just so much shit. It was like amazing that this whole like Metallica world just like came into me. I was like, oh wow, and then I loved it.
That's pretty cool.
It was great.
So magazines are always a big one for me.
And I actually met one of my friends. I met through that magazine. I'm still friends with her.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I just remember magazines were always big for me. Like learning, obviously the game stuff, whatever I learned stuff, but reading about new games that were coming out, or reading about new bands that were coming out, or like what everybody's favorite artist was at the time, or like actors and actresses that were huge, and that's where you got.
Yeah, behind the scenes of movies and stuff like that.
Behind the scenes of movies and just like staying up.
Fangora.
It's how we stood up with pop culture. Yeah. I just always remember good memories sitting in those lines. And it'd be funny, you come over there and there'd be like 10 kids sitting over there while all their parents were shopping or doing stuff. That was the spot for like kids to hang out and do stuff. And then when you got older, you try to sneak over and get the Playboys. You know?
Sneaky peek at Walden Books.
Yeah. All Walden Books, dude. I remember doing that. Yeah. That was funny.
All right. What we used to do is we would grab like one of our like
magazines and stick the magazine in there.
Put the Playboy in the middle of it.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Good days.
Good days.
So this one's funny, okay? Because I didn't remember. Someone brought this up, and I was listening to something on a podcast, and they're like, kids before they had these, you used to make your own ankle socks.
Oh God.
Were you around that time where you had to fold your sock back? It was a cool trend, like to fold your socks down for the ankle socks.
I wasn't folding them down, just like sliding them down.
Yeah, so it went to sliding them down because everybody used to have tall socks. That eventually you fold them down to make it look like an ankle sock, whatever.
I never did that. No.
Yeah, we used to do that, and then eventually ankle socks came out and were a thing. But still, for a long time, I didn't have ankle socks, so I used to fold them down. And I didn't want people to like, oh, I'm not cool. That was a trend.
Yeah.
That was a trend. The ankle sock.
Because in the '80s you pulled your socks all the way up.
Yeah. Guess what?
That's coming.
The high socks are all back. That's all kids do nowadays.
I know.
And talking into
I'm
that.
doing it right now.
Are they? Yeah. Talking about it now. So creating your own ankle sock, kids will never know the
Dude,
struggle.
you watch
of
like
trending.
Sleepaway Camp and you can see people doing that. It's like, God, dude.
It's just weird that was a trend, and kids
It went away and then came back.
Yeah, and now it's come back, and now the trend is tall socks. You know, and I don't mind it, but to me, always tall socks. You look like a basketball player.
I was gonna say, yeah, you look stupid unless you're playing basketball.
You know, and then that's where the tall sock came from was that college basketball team that all did the tall socks, or whatever, and then it became a trend that they started doing.
Yeah,
just like pulling down your pants and sagging. You know where sagging came from?
Yeah, prison.
Prison. You know why it was? You know why it was
That's
like?
how they knew they were gay.
That's how they knew you take it up the butt.
Yeah,
or you like to. Well, you still sag all the time, so I just figured that's what you do. So going into the ankle sock thing, I just put the Champion brand in there because we talked about how it became popular with the kids now, whatever. But back in our day,
I'm wearing Champion shorts.
I know that was so not popular, and now it's a popular thing. And it's like the struggle was like, how do you figure out what's popular? It's like I don't know, but like it's just funny to see that come back around. Yeah. I just brought that with ankle socks. I could imagine ankle socks coming back around one day and being a popular thing. I still wear.
Here's one for you.
Yeah.
Remember wearing? I still do. In fact, I really still do this because I get cold. My arms get cold.
Mm-hmm.
You put a long sleeve shirt underneath a short sleeve shirt. So like your shirt.
Yeah.
This is like I would wear something over this.
Eminem used to do that.
Not even Eminem was before that.
I know.
And like skaters would do it.
I used to do it. I used to do it.
Yeah.
I still do it sometimes.
I still do it.
So this is the last one of the stuff. And if you have any different ones I left out, let me know.
I'd throw the ones I knew.
The popular bracelets in middle school and high school that guys and girls used to wear. And I always remember one. The big one that I always remember was the one that said, "I like boobs." Don't know why that was such a big thing, but kids used to wear like bracelets. I like boobs, or the Nike ones, or
were the ones that they made themselves with the little beads on them,
or the ones you can make with your little beads or whatever. They're just
mine was slap bracelets.
Slap bracelets was one of them too, but those came back with kids. Slap bracelets are back around now, but
now they're like.
But that was like a big thing, and like for a long time, like kids were like, I think I still have one of those bracelets. I think I saved one because I thought it was cool to keep one. The bracelet trend with like all the different bracelets, but. Like Live Strong and all that stuff that came out during our time. But I remember being in middle school, like the goofy bracelets that had funny sayings, like you thought it was like a Spencer's type thing.
Yeah,
I like boobs. It was like a popular one back then.
Right.
That wasn't really a struggle or a thing the kids will never experience now, but that is something they'll never have to deal with because I don't think kids really wear bracelets and stuff that nowadays. Maybe they do.
I don't know. I never really paid attention. Remember the Fuck Me tabs?
Oh yeah. I do remember those.
I knew a girl who literally had almost a whole necklace full. I'm like, you've had that much sex. Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm
That
putting down my body count around my neck.
Here's one for you. Wearing an Adidas jacket and buying the different clips.
Oh, the little clips you could put on there. That was cool.
So many different colors and shapes.
The matching colors for your pull strings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those. Man, that's a cool throwback too. They started putting those on the starter jackets and all that stuff too.
Yep.
That was cool.
Those were the days.
All right, so that was my topic with the kid stuff. I'm sure I left out a bunch, but that was the ones I remember that stuck in my brain. Some of them I just randomly came across, or I heard people talk about, and it's kind of, I mean, there's so many that could probably list the things that we forgot. I mean, older boomer ones that probably don't even appeal to my time frame. But we're going to move on to Tim's topic, and it's called Our First Time or First Blank.
Fill in the blank.
First fill in the blank, okay. I'll go on the first one, and then you can fill in me with your list. So I put on there your first.
Let's go back and forth. But okay. Let's go back and forth. Your first what?
Your first kiss.
I don't have that one. Wow. Mine was it was Catholic school. Probably first or second. First or second because I got thrown out after that. it was a girl named Sarah. It was behind the dumpster. She said she kissed me because she liked my germs, and then I got in trouble because I was the boy and let her do it.
That's hilarious.
And that's when the nuns. That's when they still had corporal punishment at
Schools?
at elementary school
So
and Catholic schools.
it's-
They slapped the shit out of my hand with a ruler 3 times because of it.
That's so weird.
I remember, but before that, I did. Whenever I went to the principal's office, I remember this very, very perfectly. It was the school that lived by Grandma and Grandpa's house. The Catholic school that's over there, not the one that's up the street from Grandma and Grandpa, but the one that's like a little out of the way.
Yeah.
But they had a paddle on the back of the principal's door,
Like
like an ass
no,
paddle.
No, I know that. Like the ones they used to make in what's that movie?
Shop Class, yeah. Days of Confused.
Days of Confused, yeah.
kind of like that. And I didn't know if that was always a warning to say this: if you fuck up, this is what you're getting.
It's more for intimidation.
Exactly. I don't know if it was or if they actually were still paddling kids. Because my dad went to that school, and he said yes, they used to paddle all the time. But I just got a slap.
It was probably like a trophy for him. I can remember this.
Probably, or just like I said,
I
scare
paddled over
tactic.
500 asses with this thing.
Exactly. 500 asses this year alone.
So it's funny you say your first first kiss was at school because mine was at school and I was at Dare. And I was on the wooden playground because I remember because we had a wooden one, we had
We
metal
didn't have
ones.
one. we had a parking lot.
Yeah, we had a huge one. It was at Cosley School.
Yeah.
And the girl that I kissed or whatever, we kissed like 2 or 3 times or something, and then everybody found out in our grade that Randy kissed or Nancy, her name was or whatever. And then before I into school day, I remember going to the principal's office and they talking about us kissing, and I was like, "What what's the big deal?" And I ended up telling them it was a dare and whatever, and they said, "Don't do it again." Like,
What grade was it? Do you remember?
3rd or 4th grade, I think,
Was
whatever.
it pop kiss or just a little French?
No, it wasn't French. It wasn't that. So that it just like kiss,
Yeah,
like with a girl,
that's
whatever.
what
I think
mine
I think my first French kiss was in middle school. I think whatever.
Mine was 7th grade, I think.
I think it was middle school, and then that was when I first
First boob.
right? So like kind of the same thing, whatever.
Same here.
Whatever. But she like told me to. Like I wasn't trying, but she wanted me to do it. So it was like, but that was also a thing. It was like in that day, like we were doing like truth or dare, like type of stuff, whatever. And that's when it happened.
Right. I gotcha.
I didn't care. I thought it was the coolest thing ever because the girl was like 3 years older than me, so I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Fuck, you met her.
And then I was like, oh, then that girl ended up becoming my crush for the longest time.
That was my first one. I was gonna say, what was your first crush?
That was my first crush. Was that girl? Her name was Lindsay, and I remember because she was a couple of years or 2. She was 2 years older than me. I'm sorry, but maybe 3 years in age, but 2 years in grade.
Right.
And she hung out with some of the girls that were all hot, whatever. Yeah. And for some reason, I think she knew that I liked her, and she liked that I chased her around and did stuff all the time around our neighborhood and stuff. And we played that game. I remember. And it was like in somebody's garage in their mom and dad's pop-up camper, like Winnebago. We're in there.
Wow.
And that's what we did. We were playing Spin a Bottle and other stuff. We got dared to do that kind of stuff. And I did it. And then for the longest time, like she was like, she knew I was infatuated with her or whatever.
Right.
Whatever. But she knew she could ask me anything and I would do it for her. Like I was just a dumb little kid or whatever. But, it was cool. Like I remember that. I always remember that for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Guys always remember their first.
Yeah.
My crush was her name Julie. It was in Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
So something about her just drove me nuts. I honestly don't remember that part, but she'd always play with me on the playground when we were playing on recess stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She'd always sit by me in class. She'd help me with homework. I'd help her with homework. Our parents knew each other. But yeah, I just started crushing on her hard.
Yeah,
like I said.
I think it's something about when you're young and your hormones start going crazy, and you find things that are unique about people and you like them. Especially, it always happens with people like that. Either you can't have and you want, or you've been friends with them for a long time. They have all these qualities that you like, and you're a little kid and you're like, that's what I like, know, and that's kind of where you stick with. So that always was something that always remembers me.
Right.
What's your next? That was your first one? Was first crush?
Yeah.
Your first job.
I thought I got my first job was. It was a print shop over here in Florissant it's now a motorcycle shop, which is weird. Worked on Saturdays. I was paying $5.50 an hour when minimum wage was like $3 something, so I thought I was the shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I only worked on Saturdays for like 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The main boss, or the guy I answered to, would give me $20 or instead of 25. No, I'm sorry, I was getting $5 an hour. He would give me $20 instead of $25. But then whenever his dad was around, he'd give me $25.
Mm-hmm.
He never understood how much I was getting paid, and I always told him.
Yep.
But my duties were pretty much clean up all the paper that was on the floor, sweep the floor, stuff like that, clean up shit, kind of bitch work.
The bitch work.
But I was. I wasn't even of age yet. I was like 13 or 14, if that.
Right.
So I couldn't really work at McDonald's or anything like that.
So my first job, I had many jobs before I had a real job.
Yeah.
I worked a paper route, so that was
I
only,
could see that.
That was only once a week, rolling papers and doing stuff, and they would pay me $20 or $30 a night in cash.
Nice.
But before that, I worked at my dad's Lou Fuse, and I was a car porter. And I learned how to clean cars,
Nice.
all the used cars. So that was like technically my first like real paid job, but I wasn't paid on the payroll. I was paid under the table, and I got $5 an hour cash. And by the end of the week, I'd work 3 days, and I'd work 8 to 10, 12 hours sometimes. Dude, I thought I was loaded.
Banking, yeah.
Right, banking. I was for my age. But before that, my first like job I used to make up was I started like a little business going around cutting grass and shoveling snow. The kids
Shit,
just,
where you now?
huh?
So where are you now?
No shit. That was something I always thought was cool too, because I got a lot of older people that were customers, and it was easy, quick money. I mean, I cut their grass in 30 minutes an hour, make $20, and made a lot of money. So I don't know if technically it was my first real job. I have to say the car porter thing was my first real job.
Yeah.
And I loved it, and that place isn't there anymore. I mean, it's still there. It's still a car dealership. And sometimes I drive by it or drive through it because that's where my dad worked for 20 years or whatever. But it was cool, man. I enjoyed it. I actually always enjoyed making money. I still do now. It was such a cool thing. Like, and people be like, how do you have so much money? It's like, oh, I'm working. Like, you're working at 12, and it's like, I want money. Like, my parents don't just hand me money. They didn't have the luxury to just hand me money. But the opportunity came to make money. I took it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
What's yours next one?
First time you got in trouble that you remember of, not with the police, because that's later.
Man, it's so hard because I was a little kid. I don't know. I think the first time I really got in trouble, I remember
That you could think of, yeah.
when I was a little kid, was my sister had these annoying little keys she used to play with as a little kid, like little
plastic keys,
like plastic keys. She used to jingle.
Yeah.
And I told her to stop doing it. We're leaving Grandma and Grandpa's house, and I opened the window and took them through out the window. And my mom stopped and turned around and got them, and I think I got slapped or something happened to me for doing that because she was crying her head off, whatever. Something I always remember about that. I don't know why. It was because I was leaving Grandma and Grandpa's house. That's something that sticks in my brain for. I was probably 5 or 6,
Mine, this is just one of the first times I can remember. Honestly, the first time we went to go see the He-Man movie, not the real people Dolph Lundgren movie, the cartoon at a village at Northwest Plaza, and we got caught. My brother and I got caught talking too loud during the movie. So my parents grabbed us by the ear, really, not with the hand, took us outside and took us home, and then you got a free comic book with watching the movie, and they threw the comic books out the window.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, that was our punishment. I was I was so crushed because I loved He-Man, and just because we were talking,
you still do.
Yeah.
You like the new Kevin Smith He-Man, didn't you?
I've not actually seen that.
Actually,
yet.
a lot of people hate it.
I know, that's what I hear.
You might not want to watch it.
That's what I hear too.
Okay, so that was yours.
Yes.
The first time you had sex.
Oh fuck!
We don't have to have names or anything like that because I don't.
It didn't last very long. I can tell you that. I was 16 or 17. I mean,
it's so funny. It just cut off. It's like all these people think when you're a kid, like you have to have sex by a certain age, like or something's detrimental.
Back in my day, that's what it was.
Right. It was like some stigmata. I think it still is. It still is. It still is.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't last very long. I'm not gonna even. I can remember her name. Do I?
Yeah.
I could. Yeah, I could. I remember her name. But yeah, the tongue and finger action was very long, but then the actual deed itself not very long.
So mine was the same thing. I'm not going to name names because any of my friends or anybody that listens to this will know who it is. I've said it before, whatever. Right. It was actually unexpected.
Right.
I was at work at all the places.
Oh,
I came home. It was one of my sister's friends.
Yeah, of course.
I had a crush on her. She had a crush on me or whatever. I can't remember, but. I was sitting in my room. She was sitting in my room on my couch and sitting there coming home. I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" They always hung out in my room, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was hanging out in my room. And I came home, and I'm like, she's like, we just got off work. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm sitting there, and I'm getting high, whatever. I'm like, you want to smoke, whatever, smoke, whatever. And before you know it, we're making out on the couch, or whatever. I made a move, or whatever. And then we did a little more stuff, and then led to that, and it probably lasted maybe 2 or 3 minutes or whatever, and I felt like the most ashamed person alive.
Me too.
You know, I was like, oh, I suck or whatever. And to be honest, the next day she came over, and she was like, oh, it was great, and made me feel like great about it. And I was like, was this your first time too? She said it was. So at the same time, it was both first, but cool story about it was we did it many more times.
Oh, yeah, of course, you had to.
Now, it wasn't all the time, but it was just like random. It would just like randomly happen, like when it was just like me and her or whatever, and I was like, hey, this is cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Never dated, never went out, but it was something we always had like a cool thing with.
Right.
And I don't talk to her anymore by any means, but that will always stick in my brain. Huh?
Is your sister still talk to her?
No,
okay.
She doesn't. Which sucks because she was like they were best friends at the time, or whatever. And that was another thing. I was like, I don't want to ruin my sister's relationship with you, or whatever, doing that kind of stuff. So it was kind of just like it was a mutual thing. But you always remember your first time you had sex, right?
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
And it's like you always think you're going to be like this great guy or whatever. But I guess it's like anything. It's like you get so horny and it happens. You're like you don't know what to think about sex. You know, it's just what it is.
You don't know how it feels. I mean,
there's more pressure on the dude than the girl, right? I think in some kind of well. The girls don't know that, but the guys think that, right? Because you've been told like the only time they have sex, but most people don't enjoy their sex the first time. So, you know, that's one of those things. But it's just funny. I wanted to hear your story. You go. What's the next one?
First time the cops got called on you, or you got brought home by the cops.
First time the cops got called on me was. Because my friends and we would always be around the neighborhood terrorizing people and doing shit, right?
Of course.
Somebody called the cops on me thinking that I fucked up something in somebody's house, got messed up or whatever, and the cops got called on us and they got called on my house. And it didn't happen. And luckily I wasn't there or we weren't a part of it, so they couldn't prove it or anything. But it wasn't us. They just blamed us for everything in the neighborhood, right? But I will tell a funny story that the first time the cops actually came down looking to arrest me was my friend Rory, that you remember.
God, Rory.
Called up France House High School during a summer break, and I was sleeping in my room, and he called up, and he was tripping balls off of acid. He was on a 2 or 3 day trip still, and he wasn't sleeping, and he called him up, and he said something to the principal and on a voice route mail, and they ended up tracing the number back to my landline in my room.
Motherfucker.
And the cops came to the door and they said they looked for me. My mom's like, yeah, he's in the house right here or whatever. And I just woke up and I was sleeping. I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, like, did you call the school? I was like, call the school for what? And it's like, we're on summer break. It's like, but that's the last place I'd ever call a school. It's
right.
Like, you know, I was like, I don't even know the number to school.
Right.
And they're like, they were like, we have a number traced back from your landline and your number at your house. It's to your guys' family that said that you guys called the school, and it's like, that wasn't me. They're like, if it wasn't you, then who was it? And I was like, well, I've had like 10 friends at my house, so let's go through the list of how many friends. And my friend Rory came out from behind my house to go, oh, it was me. And then before you know it, he's talking to me. He's like, don't worry, guys, these guys are from the FBI. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, man, he's been tripping on acid for like 3 days. And he told the cops that that he was in the Matrix and they're from the FBI to get him. And they ended up throwing him in the back of the car and slapping him around a little bit. But that was a funny story when they came to arrest me. What about you?
I was really young. I honestly couldn't tell you what age. Tom and I were thrown at the neighbor's house. And we were watching some horror movie. I can't remember the name of it. And for some reason, I have no fucking clue why, there was a phone next to me. There was 2 phones. One was like a business phone. One was a home. And I for some reason, I thought the phone wasn't plugged in. So whatever we were watching, I got on the phone, called 911, and was acting like, you know, whatever's happening in the movie was actually really happening.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So they came barging down the fucking door, wondering like, where's this guy with a chainsaw or some shit, whatever was going on, and well, why are we so calm and cool and collective, and like nothing would happen.
I figured it was a prank.
Yeah, they figured they didn't think it was a prank. They didn't know.
They took it serious, but
they took it seriously. But I didn't know the phone was plugged in or whatever for some reason. So I was just going, just playing the game, basically, playing with myself, but playing around. And yeah, they thought it was actually happy because they could hear the shit going on in the background. So would you explain to them that
you thought the phone was unplugged and you dialed 911 and you're just reacting what was going on?
Yeah, I was acting like I was talking to the police. Like,
and what they say?
Yeah, I got they called my parents. They sent me home. My parents could beat the shit out of me. But the cops are just like, just next time before you call anything, make sure the phone's plugged in or not. That's the lightest I got off that way. But my parents beat the shit out of me.
That's funny. It's not funny, but
it is funny. Well, it's funny now.
It's funny now.
But it's just like, dude, I'm just explaining this.
Well, it's kind of like what
I
happens.
got this guy chasing after me with a chainsaw. You hear screaming in the background.
It's kind of like people now where they call the police and they do the thing where they tell them people are getting killed or shooting up something and they get swatted. They call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and people have been dying now over it. Like mostly people are streamers. So. No, these are just people streaming on video games, right?
Oh yeah.
And they get swatted and they break in their house and they're sitting there playing a game, or whatever. They find it funny, and a lot of these people end up getting caught, but a lot of them don't because they're from other countries.
Of course.
Your first video game console. Or let me say this: how about your first? I guess you can say your first, because that's what our topic is first.
My Atari 2600. When Atari was big back in the early 80s, and that's the first thing we had. We got it from a neighbor who was moving away, and for some reason, I think their child got in trouble somehow, so they gave the Atari away because, but it's punishment.
And you gave it to you guys.
And gave it to my parent. I gave it to my parents, but then eventually we got it from my parents.
Cool.
There was like 20.
Those are very collectible now, man.
Yeah, I know. But then we had so many different things that came with it.
Yeah.
Like we had the
all the controller things.
We had the little paddle ones or whatever.
When you twist the knob.
Yeah. You can only go left and right for certain video games.
Yep.
We also had the wireless ones. And we also had the running pad. There's a Olympics game where you looks like a Dance Dance Revolution kind of pad, where you did Olympic games where you can run and stuff like that, or do the high jump. It was really cool. I forgot the hell it was called. I want to say some pad.
I remember that's a popular thing. They actually moved that and did that in Nintendo as well.
That's what I'm saying.
They did a Nintendo gamepad they used to have.
Yeah.
Mine was obviously Nintendo.
Yeah.
And because that was when it came out first. It wasn't my favorite console, but it's one that was my first one, and I still have a Nintendo. I have the original one that my mom and dad got me, and I had it rebuilt and remade and everything, and I had it custom painted and everything. And
that's the one that's okay.
Yeah, it's the one that Lincoln plays on now, whatever, and I fucking love it. And it's cool. It's part of me. It's part of my childhood, and that's why I kept it. Same thing with my Super Nintendo, is the same one. But that was my first game console, and dude, I used to play that thing so much, and I got to the point where it didn't work anymore, and it pissed me off so much. But I ended up putting it in a box and keeping it. And then, come to find out, what ended up happening was, like most people don't realize, is there's like little connector pins that are inside there when you put the cartridge in, and when those connector pins get worn out from getting pushed in and out all the time, if they're loose, they don't have a good connection and won't play. So you have to either get a new one, or you have to know to go in there and bend the pins back, which people do and some people don't. But I ended up doing that on mine, and then having it custom painted and put back together and everything. And now mine works, and it's back to the heydays of playing Nintendo. So Nintendo was my first one.
Blowing the cartridges, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. How about your first concert?
First concert. The first concert
school concert. Like I'm talking like big band.
Big band?
Yeah.
First big band. Man, this is hard.
No violin recitals. I can tell you mine.
You go first, because I'm trying to think.
Mine was 1993. I forgot what month, Yeah. It was Metallica. No. 94. I'm sorry, 94. Yeah. 1994, June. I remember because it was hot outside. Riverport Amphitheater, Metallica, Suicidal Tendencies, and Danzig. I've never heard of Danzig day in my life, and except for on Beavis and Butthead. Never heard of Suicidal Tendencies even before, but Metallica was really big for me, and obviously still is 30 years later. And that was one of the best shows I've ever been to, because it was my first one.
Okay, so I do remember what it is now, because I was trying to think of it. I was like, what band did I go there to see or whatever? But I don't remember which specific band went there. I just went there with my friends because my friend worked at Riverport and got us free lawn seats and whatever and beer and everything else. But the first one I went to was Point Fest.
Nice.
So, like, I don't remember all the bands on the list, but I remember it was a lot of rock and alternative bands. And when Point Fest was actually Point Fest,
yes.
right? When it was actually the hype.
Fest.
And I remember being there, and I was like, I've never seen so many fucking people in my life. I remember at the lawn, we stayed there all night.
Yeah.
And I remember staying in the back fence, and sitting there smoking with my friends, getting high, watching whatever.
That's where you did it at the lawn. That's where everybody smokes.
You know, and then people probably have sex in the lawn, everything else, or people are doing whatever. And the next day, my friend would always tell me, he's like, the best thing is the next morning and cleaning up the lawn, because you'd find stuff. He's like, dude, we would go home. I remember one time he brought over a freezer bag full of lighters. Like, you'll never need lighters again. He's like, we have probably over 10,000 lighters.
My buddy of mine did that. He found like $500.
Yeah. They find money.
Yeah.
Condoms,
wallets,
drugs. He said they found
cigarettes,
packs everywhere,
Yeah.
beer cases, bottles, booze people would drop out of their pockets or whatever, and they would still be brand new.
Yep.
He said a lot of money. A lot of money was always found. A lot of lighters, obviously, and he said they found like bags of cocaine,
Yep.
mollies, just everything you could think of. Anything you would think that people would do at a concert, you would find. And a lot of weed. You'd find mostly weed, like joints and
like I said,
whatever
the
else.
lawn is the place where you find that stuff.
So like that was always cool. He'd bring that up, and that's when it started. I started going to a lot of concerts because I would get free things going to concerts. The only band I never got to see live in concert, and then I'll move on to your next topic, is when I grew up. Linkin Park was my favorite band. It's still one of my favorite bands growing up from alternative music, and I never got to go see him in concert, which pissed me off because now what's his name's dead and it sucks, whatever. But I got to see a lot of cool bands growing up, so that didn't bother me. But Point Fest was my first concert, and I remember it was the pinnacle hype of fucking music back in St. Louis those days.
See, I've been to a Point Fest in '98, and I thought, I'm not a huge guy on alternative kind of music, but I loved it because all the people that were there. There was Creed, Foo Fighters, Green Day.
Yep.
Gravity Kills was headlining.
Sublime sometimes.
I never liked Sublime.
I'm just saying this bands during that time.
I'm just saying that I saw all these guys, and Creed was before they were even near big. And I was just like, wow. Did
you know Creed's coming back and being popular again?
Yeah.
I just heard the other day they're just really hyped up.
I know.
Yeah, you love them.
No, I don't.
Brandon was hitting me up talking about it. He's like, you see how fucking big Creed is again? I'm like, dude, I saw that. I was like, this is unbelievable how they just got hyped up again.
Limp Bizkit's still big too.
Huh?
Limp Bizkit is still big too.
Yes and no.
Fred Durst needs to not be alive anymore.
I'm not a huge fan of Limp Bizkit.
I like one song.
Probably one song too.
Yeah, it's probably a cover song.
Yeah.
Yeah, Behind Blue Eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your mom.
Yep.
So how about this one? Your first cell phone.
We talked about that. Nokia, the Nokia.
Yeah. Okay. How about your first computer?
No. Honestly, I bought a laptop off a friend because I was big into writing lyrics down for my bands and stuff. So my friend gave me a laptop for $100. It was a piece of shit. Nothing worked on it. This was pre-internet days, or like right before anybody knew about the internet. And we would just like write our song lyrics in them. So whenever we practiced or whatever, if we wrote new music, we'd have it there.
Yeah.
Just something basically to write our stuff on other than paper.
So my first computer, now you're gonna laugh at this. My first computer was from Grandma and Grandpa, and I took it from Grandpa's Hallmark store. Yeah. And when they used to make like cards and like birthday things or whatever on, and I took it and we couldn't do anything on it. Like they give us like floppy disks and shit, and I would just sit there and just play on it and try to figure out how to do stuff on it. I didn't figure anything out at first, but after I started fucking around on it more, I started figuring out a lot of stuff. That's where I discovered my love for computers. Was Grandpa gave me that one, and I took it apart and put it back together. Yeah. So that was cool with it too. Cool. But we couldn't play any games, couldn't do anything because it was made for a Walgreens. Yeah. Not Walgreens, but I mean a Hallmark.
Yeah.
So I ended up, that was my first one I got, but then I first got my first home like desktop, whatever my parents did. That was like considered like our family one, but it was really considered mine because it was in my room. So everybody would come use it in my room, but most time, 99% of the time, it was mine. And I'd play games on it and do whatever, and that's when dial-up internet and everything was on there. But that was my first. I don't even remember the fucking name of it. I just remember there was always a turbo button on there. If you press the turbo button, was always like everything's gonna go quicker, and that was a fucking gimmick. I found that out later. That was just a gimmick they used to sell to people. Turbo button. Everybody they used to sell that on the towers. Turbo button. And I just saw actually some guy took his original mom and dad's computer with a turbo button and everything on it, and the CRT monitor and everything. And from the outside, it looks like an old piece of shit, but you open it up, and he's got like $5,000 worth of shit inside of it. And
actually, I've seen that.
And there's a lot of that's what he builds now. He builds people custom old rigs with all newer equipment, and people like it because it looks like this old computer in their house. But some of them got the newer monitor and stuff. Some people have left except in the old CRT monitors. But anyway, moving on. What's the next one you got?
The first album you bought with your own money.
First album I ever bought with my own money
Yes.
was Eminem.
Was it Eminem?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Which one?
The first one, I'm the Real Slim Shady or whatever the fuck it was called. I just remember because I was in high school, it was middle school, I think. Middle school. It was middle school for sure. And I remember coming on MTV playing his first song, and it was like for a month straight that song came out. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And then I finally got into it, so I bought his CD, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
My parents bought me a lot of CDs, but my first album I bought,
yeah.
I remember was the Eminem CD
Right.
or album.
Mine was probably Metallica's Injustice for All. I had up until then the Black Album was the only everything was out up until the Black Album, and I had all the other ones on tape, on cassette tape, and the Justice for All was my first CD because I got my first CD player in like 92, 93 or something like that, and that's when I first started buying my CDs.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the album anyway because I had it on tape. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But buying it on CD, it made me feel really good because I'm like, hey, I bought this myself.
Yep.
You know, now I have all the Metallica albums at the time. And I felt really good about it just because I could buy my own shit now.
Right.
You know.
That's a feeling kids will never understand. I mean, you can still buy CDs, but CDs are just something that no one will ever understand buying stuff. It's like, oh, I bought the album on Spotify or Apple Music.
Right.
Neat, cool,
Yeah.
really cool. That's just it's not the same feeling. But obviously, I'm not growing up in this era of music, so I don't get it. But to me, I don't find that fun or amusing.
I need physical media in my hands. What you look for?
Oh, something. So the next one I have is
I have one more.
who was your first friend? That's a hard one to think about because
That is a hard one.
that you remember, right? I'm sure there's plenty of friends you went through school and did stuff with it, but
when I was in Catholic school in kindergarten, I don't remember preschool very much. Kindergarten, like I said, I was over by the school or by where Grandma and Grandpa used to live. There was 24 girls and one other guy besides me.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and I became friends with that guy. I remember it was Jay. I want to say Rubel or something. I can't remember. It was Jay something, but it was just me and him, basically against the girls.
Nice.
So I was friends with him.
Yeah, that's funny.
And when we would always pick on the girls or whatever, and they're basically we didn't feel like we were outnumbered after we started getting when we were together.
So I mean, in my neighborhood, I had plenty of friends, and I remember going to pre-K and all this sort of stuff, but I don't remember anybody's name, so I don't really consider anybody a really good friend or whatever that I can remember. But I had my next door neighbors there next to me. They were friends, but I didn't hang out. I didn't go to their house and hang out all the time. But the kid across the street, Kevin, I don't talk to him anymore. His name was I'm not going to give his last name at all, but he was like someone I hit it off with. I remember when I was a kid. I mean, and I had my friend Brett. You remember Brett at all?
Yeah, I remember
Brett down the street too. I used to hang out with him a lot too, but my first real friend was that guy across the street. It was Kevin, and in my neighborhood. And I actually just talked to him last Halloween, the first time I've seen him and talked to him in a while. And I brought up some other stuff and told him just to tell him, I was like, dude, I just let you know because he grew up with some antisocial stuff and just problem making friends and doing stuff, but he's really intelligent. I think he's got Asperger's or something. But I was telling him, I was like, dude, some of the best times of my childhood were just hanging out at your house and discovering things, like some of the games that we played and the things that we did. I was like, that's when I was a real kid, watching Ninja Turtles and doing stuff. I just always hang out at his house. And when I got older, we kind of went our separate directions. He went to different school. I went to different school because he needed special help and whatever. And I always thought that was cool. That's the first person I can remember as a real first friend.
Cool.
But I told him a lot of cool stuff. I didn't have to, but I wanted to let him know, hey, dude, just remember, I know you grew up and he's married now, whatever else. But I don't think he has kids or anything else that matters. But I just told him, I was dude, our friendship when we were kids was one of the coolest things I had when I was a kid. It was a lot of good memories and stuff with him. So I think he appreciated me telling him that because I think he thought I forgot about him or something.
Yeah.
What's your last one?
So you do your last one, then I'll do mine.
What was your first? I guess it goes with your first favorite TV show or show. This is stupid. I know.
Probably wrestling.
Wrestling.
Something. When it was back in the day, it was WWF Prime Time. I think it was called before it was actually Prime Time. It was on USA 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and just watching wrestling.
Mine was wrestling too. I was gonna say. Me and my sister both got into it. This is pre South Park and everything, but days of Stone Cold
Oh, this is before that.
Oh, I know you were before that, but that was my first real thing I got into, like
Right.
TV show wise. That I was really. I mean, obviously, I like Beetlejuice and I like Nickelodeon and stuff, but I meant like something I followed. A show.
Yeah.
Was wrestling, and I followed it for a long time until I got to about I'd say like maybe 8th grade or 9th grade, and I was like, I'm just done with this. Like after Stone Cold and a bunch of those guys left, and then moved on to like The Rock and some other people, I just started kind of fizzling, fading out after that.
Yeah, I still watched mine until like 2000 or 2013. Actually, I just follow every once in a while. I'll file something now just to see what happened at the pay per view or whatever. Plus, we have it on Peacock now, so I watch some of the oldest ones for the hell of it. Just bring back just watching shit.
I'll tell you this, and that we can move on to my last couple topics.
My
I guess.
question first, after yours. Go ahead.
I know. Is that some of the best podcasts I've ever listened to are all the old wrestlers, just because, just Rogan or some other people, their personality and just knowing like what they actually went through, and just not knowing that like these guys didn't really hate each other. Like they're all friends behind the scenes. Like they didn't like
stuff you didn't see on the TV.
Right. NWO didn't really hate. It wasn't really hated by everybody. They're all friends. They all went out and had drinks and shoot the shit all the time. Like when you're a kid, you're naive. You're like, oh my god, what happened on this? This guy.
Exactly.
The world's over with.
The guy broke his leg. He's not gonna be out for 6 months.
My favorite
comes
guy,
back next week.
My favorite guy lost in the Royal Rumble, and everything's over. He lost the belt. Stuff
He's
like
never
that.
gonna win it back.
Yeah. All right, now you go.
All right. Okay. Now we might have conflicting stories with this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the first time me and you met?
Yes, I think so.
I think so too, but I'm not sure either.
Okay, so I was young, obviously, so it's gonna be hard. I swear.
I was still in high school. It was my senior in high school because that's when Dad and Marianne got together.
Okay, so I think I remember going over to Grandma's maybe, and you sitting on the couch, either upstairs or downstairs, and you might have had a Cardinal shirt on or something at the time, and a hat maybe, and I remember saying what's up to you and talking to you, and then we just kind of just started hanging out and talking. I don't remember exactly. Maybe that's a picture with you and Ashley over there the first time.
That was in the basement.
In the basement, but I think that's what I remember, like coming over and hanging out with you. And then after that, I was like, every time I go over, I'm like, is Tim gonna be over there?
Yeah.
I used to ask it all the time.
You called a few times when I was at home, when I was home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I think it was too. It was either that, I was gonna say it was gonna be Christmas, but I'm like, no, there was a time before Christmas.
No, because I think that's when my mom was like, we were gonna introduce you to Tim and and Tom.
And that's when I actually didn't wear my all my black. That's when I had the Cardinal shirt on and the hat and shit like that.
Yeah. Well, I always knew you liked sports even back then, or your dad was into it.
Dad was into it. Yeah. He wanted me to dress proper, not my normal Metallica or whatever Slayer shirts.
I remember that too. I'm like, I don't remember Tim ever wearing this kind of shit. But I was like, but I remember. Do you remember dressing like that at Grandma's? Maybe you didn't wear
just be nice to them and you guys because it's the first time I meet you guys.
Yeah, but there's other times I remember you come over and you were wearing like blues gear or Rams gear or whatever. And stuff like that, but that is it's funny that you brought that up. I do remember that.
See, like I said, I thought it was gonna be that time or there was a Christmas time. But I'm like, no, Dad and Marianne met at Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So because I remember that before exactly too because Dad and I went to Springfield to go see Tom at school, and then we saw WCW live while we were down there, and then the day we came back the 13th, and then Marianne and Dad had date the 14th.
Okay.
So
that's funny.
Yeah. And then I met you a couple weeks later.
Yep. And then
he asked her to
Grandma made sure she got that picture.
Exactly.
I wasn't in it, or was I in it?
No, you were.
No,
it's just me and Ashley.
Yeah, just you and Ashley. Okay. Was that your bonus topic question?
Yeah, that was my bonus question.
All right. So I got like 2 or 3, whatever, that are not on. You didn't know about. So
of course,
always. That's how I roll. I came up with this one the other
Obviously.
night. Yeah. Does life get better after high school or after college?
Well, see, college for me would be like in my 40s.
Well, we'll just you can do. Yeah, it doesn't matter because it's your life experience.
I'd say, fuck me, for anyone in general or just me.
It doesn't matter. I would say. Since your life experience is different than everybody else, you have to go off yours because you can't go off everybody else's experience, what they think, because everybody has different trials and tribulations.
It's kind of a toss-up, but I'd have to go through high school because after high school I had a job, but I didn't have to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to school.
Yep.
I didn't have the responsibility of doing homework.
Yep.
I just had to go to work and get high and drunk and stuff like that with all my friends.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say after high school would be the best for me.
And that's the reason why.
Yeah, if I said college, then I'd be like, well, let's see. I've had one job where I could just sit on my ass and not go in because I can do it at home. I have a wife and
Wife and a life.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be too easy to say. But yeah, high school would definitely be for me.
Okay. Mine would I thought it was going to be high school, but then thinking about it, it's definitely after college. And the reasons why after high school was I didn't really know what I wanted to do after high school because I didn't get the.
I still don't.
Right. Because my dream was always to go play D1 hockey and make it in pro hockey. So that didn't happen. And I was like, well, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? You know, for a while, I was like, well, I'm not just going to go to college to go to college. Because I went for my scholarship for Lindenwood and SCA. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to school for a while. It's like I'm not really into school. Like I hated school, you know. So I wanted to take a break from it and kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my life. So I went and got a construction job, and I'm sorry, it's not construction. I went and worked at UPS, and then I went and worked at my construction job. And
you
then,
went from handling packages to handling wood.
Yes, exactly. So long story short is, then I got into college and figured out that I want to go into computers, and that kind of set me up for where I'm at in life now. And I met my wife and all this other stuff.
Right.
So that was
2 kids later.
2 kids later, exactly. College. I mean, after college got better. I was kind of in college when I got my career job, but at the same time, everything started going into place when I went to college. I went to tech school, so like things got a little bit better for me. But you know, what worked out for me was not rushing into college. I think so many people just rush into college, and they think that's the only answer that there's in life. Got to go to college, get this piece of paper.
They get out in June of school, then they go back for high school, then they go August, they leave for college. It's like, dude, you had a month to play with here. Do whatever.
Well, I always liked making money and having a job, and I thought, you know, I'm going to go make some money for a while. My parents weren't paying for school. I didn't have that luxury or whatever.
Right.
I didn't want to take out a loan and do all that kind of stuff. So to me, that made sense to me. And once I got out of college, I already knew what I wanted to do after I got out of college. I was already doing it. So it kind of gave me more sense and purpose. I think a lot of people just go to college because that's what they're told to do. And they fuck around and get drunk and hang out and do whatever. And when they get out, they don't know what to do in the real world. They've never worked a real job.
Exactly.
They've never been on their own. And I think I had to mature and grow up a little bit than most people at a younger age. And I've said that a couple times, but it's just the reality of what it was. And it made me a better person going on. But college, definitely after this life get better. It got better for me after college. It got harder. Definitely after high school and college. High school, in between high school and college, it was really difficult. Like that 2 or 3 year period was pretty difficult for me.
Right. Well, look at you now.
Yeah. So okay, for the next topic, where was my topic? Where are you at? So, okay, here it is. Things you didn't understand until you were an adult. And this could be a laundry list of shit or whatever. I didn't write down anything. This is just more off the cuff.
Women.
Yeah, women. I'll go first, and you can think about some stuff. So things you didn't know until you're adult. I thought when you got to a certain age, you just figured it out, and like I'm an adult and did other stuff. But my kind of point was, there's not one defining moment in your life that you suddenly like just sit down and like I'm an adult. Like that's something I didn't figure out until I was an adult because. You're always told like you go from an adolescent to a teenager to an adult, and you're like, well, what's that age? Like, when does that happen? Does there a certain date and time? No, I think it happens different for everybody.
Right. Because I'm still acting like a child.
Right.
I'm 45.
Right.
Going on 45 years old.
I'm an adult when I need to be an adult. I'm a child when I need to be a child.
Exactly.
And I'm always be a child at heart.
I know when to turn it off.
Right. So to me, there was no defining moment, but is there things you didn't know until you're an adult? Like, is there something you just did? You realized that what am I trying to say here? You thought you would figure out better when you became an adult, or you didn't realize until you're adult. Like I'll give you my example. Here's one. I thought adults knew everything when I was a kid, right? And you're like, fuck. When you became an adult, you realize that's not true, right? It's just you just think you look up at adults and you feel like they have everything figured out. They know everything, and the reality is they don't.
With me, this is going to be kind of a deep answer, is finding myself. Because in high school, I was getting drunk all the time, getting high all the time. Everything was music. I wanted to be a rock star, all this stuff. And like I said, I'm 45 years old. I still act like I'm fucking back in high school. But at the same time, I can turn it off and be an adult if I need to. But I didn't realize all the... I can't think of a better word for it, but special powers that I have, and I'm not saying like I'm a wizard, Harry, or anything like that. I'm talking like I can sit down and read people. I know a lot about a person by just watching them for like 5-10 minutes or listen to them talk or whatever. I can read people like a comic, or I tell people can read people like a coloring book. I could definitely tell like if a person's an asshole at home or if anything like that, or what kind of person they are towards people just by their mannerisms. And for me, that's like I said, that's one of my powers, that I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
That and just being as rock solid as I am. I'm not saying that as a fat joke, which is true too, but I've been everybody's shrink of my friends since I can remember. Everybody's gone to me for problems. Everybody says, I'm the big brother type, which, girls, that's how they rejected me. But, at the same time, people always find comfort in me being around because I was there for them.
Right.
And I didn't realize that was the big thing.
Right.
Especially now that I'm older, I realized that because I've had friends for going over 30 years, almost 30 years now. A lot of people can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
No offense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's one of my big things is realizing what I can do, what I do for other people, and how much I can use my power to help people, so to say. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's one of those things, I guess, you figure it out as you got older. It's just that's why I asked the question. Something I realized, too, about when I've gotten older, you're never really done growing up.
No, you're not.
And that's something a lot of people think, that you get to an age or a certain point and you just realize, like, hey, I'm done growing up. This is all it's going to be. But the reality is you're still growing up as you get older. You're going through different ages and you kind of grow up with your age and you kind of phases. And something I was very naive into, and I think most people are, everybody associates old people with like being tired and lazy or whatever. And the reality is that's not how it is. The reason older people are tired and lazy, or not tired, but they feel like they're tired and are always bitching about stuff because their laundry list of shit is 18 times as long as what you have to go through as a kid. Yeah. So their energy that they do have is spent doing all the things that nobody wants to do. And it took me
trying to get to the toilet.
Right. It's just like, obviously it doesn't matter if you have kids or not have kids, but realizing having kids and then dogpiling all the shit I have on top of it, plus all the activities and everything else you got to do with kids. By the end of the day, I've realized why people want to go to bed at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock now. Yeah. I was always a guy like, who goes to bed at 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
And now I'm starting. My bedtime used to be 10:30, 11, or maybe 12, and now I've scaling back. Now it's like 10, 10:30. I've been going to bed. Now sometimes I go to bed at 11, 11:30, depending if I'm playing hockey or something else like that. But that's one night a week or 2 nights a week. Yeah. Most of the time I'm going to bed earlier because I get up earlier, and I'm not joking. Every year since I've been getting older, I've been getting busier. I thought it was kind of slowed down. It doesn't slow down when you have kids, or it doesn't slow down when you get older. So
because you have your responsibilities on top of that, you have your kids' responsibilities.
Right.
You have to get them to school and stuff like that. They can't do it themselves.
Right, and you got to take care of them, feed them.
And then you got the wife's responsibilities, and then there's just so many.
Right, and then you got family people asking time.
Exactly.
And like you said, I realized this on one of our podcasts. You said that I'm always the helper, or people are always whatever, and I get hit up all the time from everybody for help. My sister yesterday hit me up. Can you come make my bed and put my bed together? Because she's a woman. She doesn't know how to do that, and I get it. My dad, the other week, his bed broke or whatever, and he's like, can you come over and fix my bed? So I had to go to Home Depot. Long story short, their bed got infested with like a bug type thing, and the larva.
Termite or
something stupid. Yeah, it wasn't from them. It was from somebody else that came over to their house.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew, nobody's going over ever.
It wasn't a bed. Okay, I'll just give it long to make him sound gross.
You don't have to say it.
It was a bed bug or whatever,
yeah.
And it came from someone else's house, and it was on one of their kids or whatever. I think clothes or something, and went and got in my sister's bed, and then it got in my mom and dad's bed. They threw away all the beds just to make sure that nothing had gotten in their beds.
Yeah. Oh god.
They had someone come over professional and check their house. There was nothing in their beds, but my mom's like, "Fuck this, we're getting rid of our beds anyway. I'm not taking a chance on it." She's like, my mom's like, "I need a new bed anyway." So when I came over and they took apart the bed, one of the bolts cracked or something happened. My dad's like, I don't know how to fix this. So I came over and I took apart the bed and put it back together and put new bolts in it and did everything. It took me about an hour. And then my sister's like, oh, Randy came over and did that? Oh, can you come do mine too? And I was like, no. My schedule's so busy. Like,
you have a boyfriend, you do it.
Yeah, she has a boyfriend. Plus, my mom and dad are 60-something. Like, they needed help or whatever. Right. And I came over and helped.
That's understandable. That's your parents.
Right.
But not, she's...
But I'm always getting asked and help for help.
Exactly.
And that just
clogs my schedule that much more, and I don't mind doing it. I like doing stuff for people. I like helping.
Stretch so far.
I
you only have so many hours in the day.
I get stretched very thin, and sometimes I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I dogpile and do too much stuff myself.
Tell people no. Tell them no.
I need to learn to tell people no.
Yes, you do.
And
a lot.
Yes, I do.
A lot.
I know.
A lot.
So, like I said, that's why people are tired when they get older. Yeah. And I was very naive to it. So, like, something I didn't realize until I was an adult. I always just thought people were like, oh, you're old, you're a boomer, you're tired, like, like you're just an old fuck, whatever. Right. And that's just a joke with a lot of younger kids. But as you get older, you realize that's like that. All right, so that was my last two topics. Now, this is just random I brought up because I saw this morning before I came over, and I wanted to write this down because do you know what the Mandela effect is?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so pretty much it's something that you believe that never ever happened.
Yeah.
Right, for example, like...
the moon landing. No, I'm kidding.
No. For example, remember the one... Well, I'll use the movie association. Remember the movie Shazam that came out?
Yeah, I never watched it.
Right. Who was in the movie? Shaq.
Shaq, yeah.
Right. So everybody believed that there was a movie with Sinbad that came out called Kazam. Do you think you remember hearing a movie about Kazam, which
Kazam was Shaq.
With Sinbad?
Kazam was Shaq. No,
right.
Kazam
was Shaq.
Yeah.
Shazam was considered Sinbad. He's dressed up as a genie.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody thinks they remember a movie called Shazam, but it wasn't. It was just a movie called Kazam, and everyone associates that also with Sinbad.
Yeah.
That's the Mandela effect, where people believe something that never really happened.
Okay.
So there's this lady who's fucking. You had to go see a therapist and all this other stuff. So for the cornucopia, Fruit of a Loom. Do you remember cornucopia or no cornucopia?
Yeah.
Which one do you remember?
Cornucopia.
Right, you had a cornucopia on there. But Fruit of the Loom states they never had a cornucopia, and all their pictures say they don't have a cornucopia. So this lady says she didn't fucking believe them, and I think some of this might be true because I'm starting to think the Mandela effect might be a joke or might be bullshit. Yeah. Not with everything, but with a lot of things. Okay, and so she became so obsessed with it. She went and saw a therapist and shrink, and they're like, "You need medicine. Like this isn't healthy. Like what you're doing." So she made it a mission to find that Fruit of the Loom actually had a cornucopia. She went all the way back and she found old shirts from I forget like the 50s or 60s. They had cornucopias on it. So she proved that they had a cornucopia. Yeah. So to even take it a step further, she opened up her own brand of clothes with a cornucopia on it and the Fruit of the Loom on there to see if Fruit of the Loom would sue her.
Oh,
and
wow.
And her clothes are still going, and they won't admit that there was a cornucopia or something on it. But I guarantee you, if she makes enough money, they will sue her because to see about her rights and stuff, just to prove that she's not insane.
Right.
But people have proved because she's got evidence and shirts and all this stuff with their logo and branding and whatever that there was a cornucopia. So like everyone thought for a long time that was part of the Mandela effect, and it's like no. So there was another one. That someone brought up, and I thought that was pretty cool. I was reading, it was on Reddit, was when we were kids in the early 90s and 2000s, do you remember the dollar sign? Did it used to have one slash or two slashes?
It depends. One slash meant one thing, and two slashes meant another thing.
Right, but at one point in time, it didn't. So when we were kids in the 90s through 2000s, when you did a dollar sign, it was always two slashes.
Yeah, I always did too.
It was always two. And then around early 2000s, it went to one, and then two doesn't exist anymore. It's just one slash, not the dollar sign. And people said that was the Mandela effect. It wasn't. They just changed it and just didn't tell people. Or if they did, you were something that was just unspoken of. And that was something too. And people were like, I always used to remember making dollar signs with two. And some guy proved it from his school book and stuff like that was going on. Don't know if that was really considered the Mandela effect, but there's certain ones that were. There's a laundry list. You can go through all these.
Yeah, like the Berenstain Bears.
Like the Berenstain Bears. Yeah, and Febreze is Febreze.
Yeah.
There's one with two E's and one with that one E for logos and stuff. Right. And people think
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, Blazing Saddles. There's people out there that really believe that they do this on purpose to change people and get them used to like believing things that people tell them.
Right.
I think there's some truth to that. What's going
possibly,
on. Because a cornucopia one, everybody swears they saw a cornucopia, and I remember used to thinking I used to see it on like whitey tidy underwear with the cornucopia, right?
Yeah.
They proved that there was.
I remember. I don't know if I remember it. I remember seeing it and then not knowing what it was, and I asked somebody, they didn't even know what it was.
Right. It was a fucking basket. Everyone's like, "You remember the basket with fruit?" And everyone's like, "No, it's just always been fruit." And now people have proved there was an actual basket of fruit. So, just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, that's.
I just read that last night. I hope what I read was true. I think it sounded like it was pretty true. This lady sounded like she was insane over it. So,
Yeah.
I think there's some truth to it. But if you ever get a chance, look up all those and kind of look, because there's so many ones you're like, man, I used to believe that.
Like,
That's
no
what
way.
it was.
There's no. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
just something different, cool to talk about. I've read some stuff on it, and people believe the butterfly effect is one too. Whatever, remember that movie?
That one I don't believe.
Ashton Kutcher.
Fuck Ashton Kutcher.
You love Ashton Kutcher.
Fuck him.
So that was it. I mean, I thought that was cool. That was just something to
cool.
think about. You just never know what else is out there with that kind of shit. I'm sure there's much of ones that are actually true that people just don't want to admit they were true.
Right.
The Shazam and Kazam was a huge one. It's been going on the internet for fucking years.
I bet.
And some guy actually tried to prove him, like, I have the movie called Kazam. He had a VHS with Kazam. Come to find out, he falsified it and made it up himself, or whatever. Now, what people said what they remember is about that is Sinbad actually played a genie or something in a TV show or something, and I don't know if his name was Shazam or whatever in the movie or whatever. But they just believe that's what it was. But if you look it up, dude, there's some fucking in-depth things on
I bet,
that.
dude. There's always some kind of theories on a lot of things, and it's just people take them way too fucking far.
Oh yeah, it was like anything. It's one of those things, but your brain makes you believe like, hey, this actually really happened. You know, the Berenstein Bears one is a great example because you all remember being kids and it was like, no, that's what it was spelled, the Berenstein Bears, or you know, like, or tricks used to be not circles; it used to be actual fruit. You know, like that's a one they're saying, and now they're kind of admitting that tricks actually was fruit at one point, and not just the pebbles. And they're bringing the stuff back because they proved it. So that was another one I think someone proved. I don't know if that's really the Mandela effect or not, but that's it, boys and girls. That's our podcast for the day. If you guys liked it, smash that like button, subscribe, tell us something. Smash us, come over. You know,
all that good stuff.
All the good stuff. If anybody actually will, please comment sometime. Maybe tell us something you want to hear or see, or if not, text us because that you know us.
If we suck, you know, whatever. Just give us some kind of feedback.
Like some feedback, you know, and.
He sounds like Joe Rogan. The other one sounds like Mama's Family. You know, I don't care. Something like that.
Doesn't matter what it is. We appreciate it. We're glad people actually listen to us, and it's not just us listening to ourselves.
Not just ourselves.
We're just talking to ourselves, listening to ourselves.
Pretty much.
All right, kiddies, until next time, stay scared. No, that's what I say. What do you say?
I say remember, kitties. Until next time. Remember, kitties. Stay scared.
I say until next time, kitties, stay scared. Follow Tim on his horror page.
Masterminds of Horror, Facebook.
Make sure you follow him on Thursdays and troll him.
Throw me some heat.
What's the heat?
Like fire, or you know, something bad.
Sure.
You know, whatever.
That's it.
Later.
We're done. See you.